6:30, Monday, May 5th, calling the select board to order. First item is additions or adjustments to the agenda. Are there any additions or adjustments to the agenda as presented?
Have an addition,
Yep.
agenda packets.
Okay,
They have one
yeah, there's the assessor one,
in a local contract. yeah.
which we're not really approving. You just have questions about it.
I'm looking for a little guidance from the board in advance of the meeting.
Yeah. Okay, any others? Hearing none, invoices and orders are being passed around. Next item up is public comment. Is there any comment from the public? Are you the public, Jason? Alex? Okay, any others? Yes.
Joseph, no, I sent you all an email over the weekend. I spoke with Adrian actually about some concerns I have about Legion Field. And the potential moving of the band shell. I don't know if you had a chance to read what I said, or if you'd like me to read the letter. Or...
I have read it. I'm assuming other board members have read it. We're not allowed to talk about things outside of public meetings. So a lot of times when you email the full board, you might hear back from like the town administrator or one board member, but you're not gonna get a reply all, or you shouldn't. At our last meeting, we have talked about extensively, and for the last couple of years, we've talked about an actual Legion Field plan, a wider plan, because I don't want to say it has an identity crisis. There's a lot of great things that go on there, but there's so many other things, you know, between Tuesday Night Live, the bread oven, the library is going there. One thing that nobody brings up until there's a problem, the ice rink, which isn't actually a committee, but it's more a use of that field. And I think that conversation about a wider plan kind of got rejuvenated because the rail trail committee wants to put signs down there, which are good for the local community. It's just, we can't keep having everybody put everything willy-nilly without a larger plan. And I believe that Tuesday Night Live is working on a plan. I have not seen it. I don't know if any other board members have.
I went to their last meeting.
Did they have the plan?
They were working on a plan, but some things were moving forward before the full plan was approved from us.
Talk to some of that today, just being like, hey, let's put the brakes on, make sure.
Yeah, maybe we need to see the plan before.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like this is probably the single most important, this or Old Mill Park is the single most important town property, right? So just have to make sure what we're doing fits everyone's views, you know, it's not a yes, no, it's just a, what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just actually, you know, my.
You're welcome.
I thought that was what was supposed to come out of the, you know, re-envision Johnson process that we just went through. We imagined Johnson, I'm sorry, that was all, you know, with the specifics of recreation there, and reconfiguring how. And I guess the reason I'm here is, you know, I'm rumors about pieces of this going forward, specifically about moving the band shell really close to my property.
Right up behind the
And
house.
no one seems to have involved us in any discussion whatsoever. I've spoken to my neighbor. It's the thing that we've seen nothing. I spoke with Adrian over the news about it, and he said, yeah, there were conversations going on. No, you know, supposed stakeholder, which I thought definitionally as a one of the officers that and it doesn't really, you know, what you're saying, I would love to see happen. I actually advocated for that years ago when I was on the planning commission. You know, it's supposed to, something like that was supposed to grow out of the recreation plan. You know, and also just we're potentially acquiring a bunch of other property. right through the model.
Potentially, yeah.
Part of the discussion, or the potential, right, as I understand it. It seems like that would be part of the greater whole. What are those all needs? And what is best suited to where? And my sense now is that nobody is talking to the neighbors about Legion Field. The people who use it are have identified themselves as having a stake in it, like these people are doing in my life. Really, like Tuesday night lights are there 8 nights of the year. You know, are available neighborhood all year long. You know, and it seems like nobody's really asking the neighbors what they want.
I mean, I think our biggest concern, because I've heard from Howard about moving the bandstand or the people or whatever it is, right up in the corner, which is where our property is, and it would just be so terrible to have that so close. When you have the whole field and very little of the houses, except the 3 along where we are. And I saw Howard in passing, maybe weeks ago, and he asked me about it, and I'm like, he would not like that, and he seemed indifferent to that opinion. I said, if you talk to Joe, which he never did. So moving the bandstand, there's a lot of ways to arrange the field. There's a lot of places the bandstand can go, and I just want to be really clear. It would just be bad. You know, it's an attraction to people hanging out in the park, and so there's a lot of like pot smoking and, you know, hanging out kind of stuff, and we don't need that in our backyard.
Really something as of the road now, you know, so people are there whenever they want to do something, there's a shelter. So, you know, why bring that stuff close to our property? You know, still we're occupied houses in the village, you know.
So, you know, I'm not opposed to the bandstand being there. I'm not opposed to being where it is now. Or moving it up against the hills, it's just moving it into that back corner, which jams us up against our property. I just think it's unnecessary and unfair when there are so many other places it could go. I think there's a lot of ways to look at that park, as you all said, in an interesting way, and there are a lot of ways to configure it. I just don't want that bandstand particularly moved and then moved so close. But there are a lot of questions about the park, you know, since we mentioned Johnson recreation thing, and we're working on that kind of stuff, but you know, nothing's been finalized and formalized, and no one has spoken to us about these changes. So we just wanna, before something gets like done and decided on without any discussion, I just wanna make everything clear, because that does not happen. So happy to have people using the park.
You know, to step it back, it kind of sounds like a chicken and an egg situation, like how do you tell, and nothing's been finalized, it's hard, and I understand, like, it's gotta be really concerning, right? Things, your property's being talked about, but you're not in the conversation, right? That's a very concerning thing. But it's also like, think about it like a zoning permit, like you design your house and then you go to the zoning board and say, hey, I want to build this house, and that's when you notify the neighbors to say, this is what we're planning, let's open up a discussion. And so I think we're waiting for Howard's plan.
Okay,
I made a note here to have you guys added to that,
yes, please.
you know, so like,
Yeah.
you know, it's rather than having like the aftermath effect of like, this is what's happening and the eyes wide open, let's be part of the process, right?
Yes, please.
And like, if you could jump in, that, and then the process will move smoother as everyone's on the same page going through it.
I mean, we are right there, I mean, look at the park all the time, so, I mean, I do wonder why you would run to any plan when you don't even know what the field is gonna look like without the library settled and the addition done. You know, that's gonna change the way that space feels,
Yeah,
and
Yes.
also, we're gonna have a summer where we experiment a couple times with having Tuesday Night Live moved to Old Mill Park, which it may turn out that we love it. You know, I mean, I was there at the beginning with Cal raising money for the first Tuesday Night Live for a lot of years, and I'm not opposed to Tuesday Night Live. I don't have anything about where it should be or how it should be. It's just wanting to make sure that, you know, we don't have this thing happen right at that property.
Back to the children and aid thing, recommend there's this plan to be presented, but. Was there an envisioning session that predated the plan, you know, envisioning section that involved the community and what do we want and need? Here, I mean, I thought that's what we were about to embark on, again, out of the Reimagine Johnson thing. You know, and given the move of the library, it seems like that would completely change the equation of that field. What it's for and what its best uses are.
I mean, I think the board's been waiting for a plan, was it last May or June or July, when, you know, and then before that, it was even discussed, so. It's starting to finalize, you know, and like, let's celebrate that it's coming together, right? Like, you were on the planning commission to get it started and the process is underway. Let's just get you in the room, let's get you guys to the table and then finish that plan. You know, that's really what needs to happen, is just finalize it and put it to bed.
Yeah, I agree that these like meetings should be brought to the public to be able to come and give their input. So I definitely agree on that. I think what's motivating the group of stakeholders to move a bit fast is because they got a grant that they're trying to plan out the money for, because I think they only have like 1 fiscal year to use it or something like that. So I think that's part of the puzzle too.
But it seems like making moves in Legion Field before you even know what it's like with the library completed and how much space is really taken up by the library, before you understand what is gonna happen to the grocery store lot, which would, you know, be an incredible public place for those kind of events. I don't know, it just seems like spending money for something you don't have all the information for is a recipe for waste.
Certainly
You know,
is.
we wanna spend that money on something that's not finalizing a plan for Legion Field if you don't even, if we're not ready for it, maybe that money could be better spent on a different product.
I think it's Legion Field specifically,
Yeah.
but
Usually grants are project specific. A lot of times, sometimes they're not.
So they wrote a grant, ready?
no, the grants for improvements to Legion Field.
There's your answer.
Town.
I think so. Randall applied for it.
Randall, was that the community foundation one?
Mhm.
Okay, it's, yeah, Vermont Community Foundation money.
Yeah. Casey has a question.
Follow a public process.
Just so we're all on the same page, and you served on the planning commission, right? So you understand how public meetings work. Every meeting that we make a decision in is public. They're all publicly posted. I'm sure you're aware. 48 hours notice, public posting in 3 locations, as well as required now to have Zoom. So since I've been on this board, which is not an incredibly long time, everything that we've done is in public. And everybody is welcome to walk through that door and give their input. I hear your concerns and I'll definitely consider them. I think the whole board will, but nothing that we've made for a decision has not been in a public meeting. So
Yeah, that's not really what I'm saying. When I was on the planning commission, when we were doing the Main Street project, the right plan, backwards plan. We did a lot of public outreach, not just opening the meeting to the public, but having real community meetings where you really solicited the public to kind of participate. More so right now is doing something with the obstacle. Very simple.
yep, they certainly
Had
have.
a town like conversation. Finding everybody to show up. And stuff things. Like,
We could talk about it when we get a plan. It's hard to have a huge discussion without some guardrails or some idea anyways to make some adjustments. So your comments are heard. I believe Casey does have something to say.
I do. Very quickly, Howard couldn't be here. I jumped from literally the frying pan to the fortunately not fire. And I basically, what I can relay from him is ditto what you said, ditto what you said. Of course, the question is fine, but I think very soon, the people will come together and talk, and we can not hypothesize as to why. Thinking that, and we can move ahead.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Just so that everybody understands, moving this to somebody else's place, they don't want in their backyard. There may be people over at the outfall, or excuse me, the other field. They may not want in their backyard either. So wherever you put this stuff, the noise is a big deal. So at some point in time, it's gonna come down to, and they have legitimate, they live there, I don't. I'm just saying, you guys are gonna have to make the decision. So. May not be what you wanna hear, may not be over there, could be down here where this one is. With Sterling Martin was. But you guys, that's what we elected you guys to make a decision. I know you can't make everybody happy, so just so you see it.
Yes.
Thank you. My point is that there's 4 sides to that field, and there's only one little portion that's right up against residents' properties. So my simple request is that that be fully considered. There's other ways to arrange the field. Simple as that, and I would be delighted to participate in this. About the fields.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Select board issues or concerns? There's got to be one.
I have a couple.
All right.
So Green Up Day happened this weekend and it was pretty successful. I wanted to thank all of the volunteers for the event. I wanted to thank the municipal workers that handed out bags and kept track of volunteers and bags gave out. I wanted to thank the Public Works Department, the Johnson Fire Department, and everyone that went around and picked up trash. Total bags that were handed out was 328. There was 111 total volunteers and there was 50 plus tires. Yeah. So that was that. And then I talked to Isabel, our rec coordinator. She had reached out to Jason on April 14th for doing the baseball diamond. He said the Public Works Department didn't have the bandwidth to do that. So she then reached out to Greg Fatigate on April 15th to do the baseball diamond. And he wasn't available until the day at the library moved, so she couldn't do that. So they worked, the only day they could work out was to do it Friday, which was the day before the first baseball game. He ended up doing it, but it came to be $1,000 that came out of the recreation budget instead of the town funds. So I guess my question was like, is that normal for it to come out of recreation budget?
We had budgeted 8,500.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Fiscal year 25, and we dropped it to 5,000, thinking we were gonna spend $1,000 on rented equipment. Using town labor, so when it came in at 1,100, yes, it's. The price is better than we've seen in the past, so we're very fortunate. We should be very thankful for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then I've gotten some inquiries about the Sterling market and where we are with that. Tom, do you have any updates on that?
Sterling market.
Yeah, the buyout process.
The Swift Current grant, they're meeting down in Boston, but it's part of the FEMA process. Vermont Emergency Management is meeting in Boston with FEMA Region 1, which is like Pennsylvania North. And the Swift Current process has not moved forward. There's been no update. So we're hoping when they get back from that meeting, we'll find out more. They said the meeting was in early May, so hopefully we'll have something for the next meeting. But it's not the same as HMDP. We know HMDP is moving forward, but not Swift Current. We're still waiting.
Is that to do the brownfield study or?
Brownfield study is not going to be part of either. That will have to happen maybe through CDBG. Disaster recovery at the countywide level, or through LCPC, or maybe it'll happen at the townwide level. That's still to be determined.
I thought Swift Current dealt with that before we took it over. There was an email about this a while ago. From Randall. And apparently I'm the only one.
Yeah.
I thought I vaguely remember it's that there was,
The town was gonna receive it free from incumbents.
we were definitely gonna receive it, yes, free and clear, and. The whole brownfield study question really becomes an issue.
I think phase one is part of this. Is that correct? Phase one is part of it, but not the remediation. I think that's the difference. That's fine. Do you know?
We're getting into the weeds.
Yeah,
Continue.
very much so, yeah.
Okay, and I just wanted to give a website update, just so I'm keeping it out in the public. After our last meeting, I reached out to Town Web to tell them that I couldn't approve any extra developer hours, but they could make a list for me. And I could see if the board agreed about paying extra for certain things on the website. I got a response back, but no list, and was told the person on our project was going to be out of town for a week and they would have someone else take over. I hadn't heard back from them until April 30th. And the different person that reached out said that they will reach out to me this week. So I got an email today, I'm needing it to register for a session on training for the website. So I registered for that, but I just wanted to note that this is an odd process, but yeah,
Okay,
that's where we're at with that.
that's all.
Mhm.
Other issues or concerns? Hearing none, we're gonna move on to the consent agenda item. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items, which are approving the minutes from April 7th and 21st, as well as retroactive plan purchase approval for dump truck to get it inspected with a cost of $7,046.80.
Mr. Chairman.
All right. Moving to a second, further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Rosemary, the floor is yours.
can I? Last year. Jason had the same problem getting, exceeding the maximum cap on the purchasing policy, and I thought the board had said, if you've got to inspect it, do what you gotta do. I would like to authorize him, if he has other trucks that are gonna face the same issues, I'd like to authorize him to just be able to do what needs to be done to get a truck inspected.
Anybody have an issue with that?
So I guess I would make that a motion to authorize Jason to spend what is necessary to get a truck inspected.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion
You're talking about a blank check then,
to get them inspected.
To get strictly for inspections.
but it's still a blank check. This one here cost $7,046.80 to bring it up to inspection.
Yeah,
So are you saying that the next truck, if it took 12,000, that they could just go ahead and do it?
Would we deny it?
Well, are you happy with this price? It's
Here, it took 14,000 to get the same truck inspected. Cause it was out of warranty,
one of the tandems,
same one.
yeah.
You're thinking we're throwing good money after bad in this regard.
Yeah.
So we've got in our packet talking about rotation. So why weren't we talking about that?
Which is a little bit later on. We
Okay,
did talk about that a little last year
all
too.
right, but it's in the packet under number 5, and this is what it's talking about.
We can certainly talk about that when we get there.
Okay.
My motion is different than that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. There's
I want to make sure we talk about it.
there's a public comment as well.
Great. So I had talked to Jason about something else that just came up inside of there. And there's, and I don't know in his case, but a lot of towns, municipalities, police departments, they're used to being down the same track. We go to the same guy, we go to the same guy, we go to the same guy, because they take care of our stuff. Working on the Canadian border for a couple of years, just a little north of us, there's a lot of mechanic shops that are on the Canadian border that are hungry and in Canada. And I had mentioned to him about jumping a little behind your truck and go up there and meet these guys in Lennoxville. Because I've seen what they can do. I've seen trucks go across the border on Fridays, blow them over, and come back on Monday, done, and Canadian dollars, and they are good mechanics. And there's a wicked truck shop right up on in Newport that does the same thing. A lot of these people here in Burlington shit done there. And I understand warranty is warranty, but out of warranty before you commit to something like that, how about having one of those guys come down and take a look at it? This is just the town's interest, you guys make the decision, and I mentioned it to him. everybody's used to either going to this one or this one or this, we bought it there, they know those days are gone. Now we're talking about saving money. If it's under warranty, take it there. If it's not, you're gonna pay something, you just gotta quote from them $7,000. Call them and go, hey, come look at this. We save $2,000, still $2,000. And those guys are good and can't so here, but that's just my take as a taxpayer.
Jason,
I heard what Mike said today, that's in Canada. And we need a Vermont inspection done. So I need to take it to a Vermont place, get a Vermont inspection done, and they gotta pass it. So every inspection place out there is gonna find something with something. Anyone in a private vehicle go somewhere, there's always gonna be something with your vehicle, and they're gonna want to fix. To make it perfect, like now you gotta have brakes that are perfect, when passenger cars, no rust ridges, no nothing. It's always gonna be something.
damn brakes.
Huh?
Said damn brakes.
Yeah.
They got me on that.
The windshield had a small scuff in it from the winter time with plow, the sand gets on the windshield in the snow, and the windshield was scuffed just a little bit. Probably wouldn't have bothered anybody in this room, but they won't inspect it, but it needs to have a good windshield. That's part of the thing going forward. You gotta do it.
I think I'm just gonna call it. Everybody's clear on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
All those opposed?
Nay.
Adrian?
Aye.
The ayes have it. But to clarify, we did make this motion last year, we're making it this year. It's not an in perpetuity motion, that's why he's letting us know. Next year it's gonna be a board anyways.
This year. It's fine.
Yeah.
yeah, I think Mike has a great point. There's no harm in getting more than one call. You know, or going for more than one person. Example, my own vehicle, I took it to one inspection place that wanted to do a laundry list of work, and I took it to another place. And I got the inspection sticker with a straight face, you know, for a lot less money. So there's certainly value to what Mike said.
Certainly.
One thing that I'm bringing up again, these guys that I'm talking about, they're doing DOT stuff, they're doing trucks and municipality stuff, fire trucks that you see across. You spent 2 years on board to see the work come back. They sell their work by people coming back, and their contracts going to be inspected in Vermont. I understand what you're saying too. I'm just telling you, those guys are not, they know what they're doing. So you guys do what you want, but there's a lot of good truck jobs around here, a lot of good mechanics.
Certainly.
Well, we don't want a lick and stick program, but if we
But
can,
somewhere in the middle.
if we can get it done.
Maybe
that's good.
duct tape.
Yeah.
We'll talk about truck rotation when we talk about the trucks. Rosemary, we're back to you.
What's it down before, we just do the final school to up. Then we see the first one, the amount we got from the first tax. Is that 100, it's 7%.
How is that possible?
The budget figure does not include the small tax appropriation we had and for that declaration. Questions? So there was an additional about $15,000. To date, we are at 75% of budget.
2 months to go.
Yeah, and in this set of orders, there was a big salt bill and fairly large scrap bill.
I think Bill's inclusion that you're talking.
No,
So those will, it'll be up higher than. Percentage wise.
Yeah.
I don't need to remind this board that we did guarantee some cash in hand on this year, on next year, so. I'm glad we're under.
Let's hope it comes out.
About $75,000, that's it, or was it 45,000?
Yeah, it was, I think 75.
But even wasn't kidding.
That's
That was.
very welcome. For sure. Anybody have any questions on the budget status report? Do we have any answers on the pilot payment for next year? Guess we won't.
Waiting on legislative action to make it not based on the CLA and based on a, I think, percentage of grand list or something. You know what the new formula is supposed to be? They're trying to not link it to CLA.
Seriously? They need to do the exact same thing they did with the school tax.
Got it. Wait to study, be done.
Divide instead of multiply.
Yep.
Now they're trying to unlink it. People are geniuses.
Rosemary, how are we coming on a tax sale?
That's what I was gonna do next.
No questions on the budget status report from anybody?
In the report for the current taxes. Davis selected 84.39%. Which is lower than the past 2 years, but we have 2 extra days to collect taxes. They're not due until May 12th. The 10th is on Saturday.
So it'd be a flood of money. Coming right in.
Hopefully we'll get $1 million. Between now and then.
They paid the winner.
Can you pay an extra million?
Uh,
Make this conversation a lot easier.
How are we doing, cash flow wise?
We're fine for now.
Just, which is great.
If we get the library money before the end of the fiscal year.
You know, we're sitting on $500,000 right now, and that's, if we can float that, we can float all of our big projects the same way.
Is the co-op stormwater thing happening when?
We need an agreement signed tonight, and then, in my one recommendation with the co-op and the engineer. That can't happen. It was, cash flow was planned to do library, pay out the big chunk reimbursement, stormwater, pay out the big chunk reimbursement. They're both about 500,000. And then do the same with Lenway Lane. So the good line up with 500,000 at a time, and looks like next year is Holmes Meadow and Industrial Park.
I've have a delinquent tax report. And I'd like permission to contact Mitchell Page, our attorneys, to start taking the process of habitat if they are.
Can somebody make a motion?
I'll make the motion to authorize Rosemary to contact our attorney
Regarding tax sale.
regarding tax sale.
All right,
Second.
motion second, further discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Do you have a tax abatement request? You want to wait until Eric is able to return, or you want to wait for that? There's no time limit on tax abatement.
Yeah, but it's probably easier if it happens before the end of the fiscal year. Right, instead of backpedaling money. Can I call him tomorrow and does the board have any qualms with that?
Not by me.
This is the fire that, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, last time I heard was going to be able to resume semi-normal activities relatively soon, so.
Yeah, I just didn't want to volunteer for something with that.
Yeah.
Fires are usually pretty straightforward abatements. I'll get in touch with you tomorrow.
Okay.
Anything else, Rosemary? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Jason. Purchasing equipment. think we all have the quotes here, right? No, we don't have a quote on the tandem. We have a quote on the truck. Correct?
For the pickup.
Yeah, pickups, we'll talk about it. And
No, let's just deal with the pickup and then talk about other stuff.
Didn't we already deal with the tandem a couple meetings ago?
We motioned to go by the state bid, but I assume we would need to motion a dollar amount at some point.
Yeah, we're waiting on, well, I have to dive into that. Our sales rep from International just left. And went to Western Star. And so.
Can we get a better price now?
Well, we might. Serious, but International hasn't followed through with our formal proposal that we requested, was that probably 6 weeks ago now. So do we hound International for the formal proposal, or do we just say, okay, let's do a bid? And kind of where I was looking for direction from you, stick with the previous International, or since they're not really following up, do we try to open it up for a better price from other people?
I'd like to see us go with Western Star.
What'd you say, Jesse?
I'd like to see us go with Western Star.
Speaking personally, not for the whole board here, I guess we gotta see quotes. The state spec is for International, right?
Correct.
If we're going with Western Star, we're gonna have to go with competitive bid.
We'd have to do a sealed bid, yeah.
Does the board have any qualms with doing a seal bid process?
Certainly not, we've done it before.
I mean, it's already drafted from last year. I just gotta change dates and send out the same emails with the same people.
You cool with that?
Mhm.
Duncan?
Yeah, I don't mind doing a sealed bid. That, the only problem with it's sealed bid is unless we have a very specific specification that they can respond to, we're looking at proposals, and it's a real mix and match show to try and
Get apples.
evaluate
Apples to
The pro-
apples.
the proposals from different vendors.
Yeah, we did learn a lot from the last process, like key terms to say municipal use ready, which implies. Built up on the right side of Devier Spring so it can take, so one of the problems was we were asking people to put a price in for a truck that wasn't set up to plow. Most trucks on the road just drive. Where now we know what to specifically ask for, that this is what it needs, this is the body we want, and this is the plow setup we want. And that, it'll make it easier now, rather than just putting out an open request.
You're open to a,
I'm open to paying the most reasonable price we can for a decent plow vehicle.
wonderful. Peter,
Same.
there's your answer.
As far as you get in trading prices.
You guys got that. Now let's talk about the pickup. We have 3 quotes.
We only have one quote in the package, it's really concerns us anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of money, so obviously we don't take it lightly and we need feedback. One question I had, does it need to be the 550 chassis for the foreman's truck? And my candid concern is we're $29,000 or so above what was in our capital equipment plan. And well, we're not gonna go to zero on that, right? It's 2030, 2031, where that plan dips really low, so 30,000 now. The ripple effect concerns me, not necessarily. The right now always concerns me, but I'm just trying to make it where a future board and employees, whoever's here, is not in a pickle at that time. And the $30,000 is just a lot for me. It's a 1-ton chassis right now. Does it have to be the 550 chassis? What?
So
Was
it
the
doesn't have to be the 500 chassis, it can be a 3500 chassis, it's a $4,000 difference in what 5500 chassis versus 3500 chassis. That's it. The 5500 is in stock and all built, it's a 2024, it's already outfitted. they put together, the people backed out of it, it's sitting there. So we wouldn't have to pay a new truck price, because the dollar price for a new one is gonna be like 12 to 15,000 more. With that body setup. It's a flatbed dump. We've never had the dump on them, it's already on this one. So we had them quote the other trucks the same way, so it was a fair quote. This way somebody was told a flatbed, non-dumping truck versus the truck with a dump on it. But we've gotten into some different things than we used to do. We do a lot of chipping and taking care of brush, and we don't have the ability to chip into the animals with the ones that we rent. It's like the village chipper, they had their chip trucks with their beds on it. So this is set up to put chips in and stuff too. Already, it's already sold. They're and they quoted the plow, and there was some talk about, do we need a plow? Plow we have right now is functional, and it's war, it has been on 2 trucks already. Mike had called and asked me what my thoughts are, and I was like, well, it's a purchase that we might have to do within a couple of years. We might not need it right now, but we did get the truck quoted with the plow permanent on it, because that's how we usually do it on the after it's on the second time around. Plow prices are a lot different than they were 5 years ago. Everything's a lot different. It was when we got the truck and when everybody, the plan was put together, the numbers weren't quite as different with vehicles as they are now. But they only, the 5,500 chassis is only $4,000. Go to a 5,500 versus 3,500, but your tow rating goes up 18,000 pounds. And carrying how and the plow. And it's the same size as Mark's truck in case something happens. Or we don't replace Mark's truck, we do something else, no.
We got. Mark's truck's been a burden, like, every time it goes, that has $10,000 maintenance bill that we could do. They are under warranty, the brakes were 7,000 last year. Look. This is being a smaller, that also was the truck that gets stuck with all the small dead end driveways or roads. Do those, would this truck handle those smaller? Is it smaller than Mark's truck?
It's shorter, a little bit shorter, not much. The bed's a little bit shorter than Mark's bed, but the cab is obviously a crew cab on this, which is what we kind of need at this point, because we go somewhere, we take 3 trucks, right now 2 trucks. But a crew cab can pass, and the crew cab, to do the crew cab, it's $2,000. Regular cab versus crew cab.
Just replace Mark's truck, could you then get an even smaller pickup for the foreman? So that way you have it for 5 people, but you're only using it to plow those smaller, well, Mark does, salt and plow small driveways, and then. Plus,
Mark's truck's in the pavement, so that, especially about that Johnson, so that's gonna get right away, really. We plow the park, we plow this now with the ones on. So a lot of things have changed, that we never used to plow this parking lot until this year, so.
Does the board have any other questions?
I'd like to make.
Hot any other questions?
I'm where you are in terms of the. I hear what Jason is saying. I think, it probably makes some sense to go that route, but we've got a capital budget and plan and we just approved. And it's got 42,000 in there for trade, after trade. And we're a long way from 42,000. I'm gonna have a hard time getting over that hump.
What are the chances we can get anywhere near 42,000?
Slim to none. I guess based on the quotes that are here, right? I mean, I worked with Jason on that last year. I don't remember the exact quotes we were getting. It's like a kick in the stomach, right, to be this unprepared for a purchase like this. It's not hasn't done.
Yeah, last year we reached out, it was actually we were having meets at college. It was 23 when I got quotes, and that's when we reached out to get quotes what an idea of the truck would cost to replace at the time. That's what they give us. That would be what it was gonna be worth, but Obviously, we waited 2 more years. And the price of that dropped down drastically. You know, so it's got more miles. As good as it did 2 years ago, if we said Vermont's solid. So.
Do you wanna make a,
Get affected by that.
you wanna make a motion, there's nothing stopping you.
Can I ask Jason a question? You know, I know this is going back a ways, but at one point in time. The town had a Ford 350 with a king cab and a plow. And what they used to do at that time was. You know, they did some plowing of intersections and, you know, part-time help was, is it feasible to think about going back to something like that?
Oh, we could go to a lighter duty truck, but we do a lot more plowing now. We plow. This parking, but we also plow over at the park. And we plow all the roads that the driveways now. Every time the little, I say driveways, the class 3s that have 1 or 2 houses on them that are in that situation, so they all get plowed with that. It's 10 too heavy, a lot of, as Tom knows, we drove around, a lot of people that had bought some of those houses on these roads don't want the turnarounds anymore and got rid of the turnarounds. So we had to back out instead of turning big cannons around behind your houses now. So a lot of stuff distribution.
So they're making it more difficult for you and they get plowed out for free.
That, I mean, that's a different problem.
I know,
We have
But
every right,
it's still maddening.
I know, but we have every right to have a duly. You know, we have every right to put a turnaround within our highway right away.
Yeah.
So if we need to do that, we need to do that, and. They're just gonna have to accept that that's the price of getting their highway plowed. So, you know, if we need to do that, we need to do that. We should do it. That shouldn't dictate. What we buy for a truck. In my opinion, I may be, you know, wrong about that, but it could. You know, even though some of those roads are being plowed with that foreman's truck. Could they be plowed with the, you know, the truck that's being used as a salt center?
Predecessor that was here had the truck that was 2,500 regular cab or crew cab, regular wheel truck with our salter sander that we bought. It overloads the truck. Tried to put airbags in it, but it just makes it a little bit. I guess we call it. So it was that red dog. So he went to that dually. It does, I mean, the sander is in that truck, and we do sand all over the driveways, and we do salt with it, and when our trucks breaks, that truck takes over. It does the salt. 3,500 now with the salter capability. Nobody doesn't have his brine capability. I think that we need to stay with the truck size that we have, at least not go smaller, because we bought the dump trailer. And we told the meeting when we rent it in the dump trailer, or we haul the trailer in the dump trailer, that's 16,000 pound trailer. Needs to have a truck decent enough to move it around with.
Sure.
So. You and I never talked about this, putting in a spot. But
Right.
you know, I hate Mark's truck, Mark loves it, which I was talking into it, I've never driven it. But it feels like the middle of the road, right? And like, I'm not a truck guy, I shouldn't be making anything. First of all, right? But. It's expensive. And it fits a narrow niche within the town. If this truck you're buying replaced Mark's. And then the next truck, Mark's, I have up the budget on the screen. We have that budgeted to be replaced at about 100,000, or this is 125,000. We know it's gonna be more than that. It's gonna be way more than that. But what if that became another one of these, so we're running two 5,500s, and then we're saving the town, you know, probably $50,000, and now we're adding versatility to the crew.
And is what we're up to, because that truck is a 5,500 chassis, but it's an international Chevy chassis thing. And that is the plan, to have this truck and the next truck be for cheaper, we'll say it Dodge, in the same size. Take them home, take them to it.
So Tom, you're saying bite the bullet now and save it in the long run.
I'm gonna do it on the screen so we all see it. Like, let's like, so here's 42,000, we jumped that up to 72,000. Adam's right, so that we go from 130 and 3132 to 60, so it's a $70,000 drop in the ripple effect. So that $30,000 now costs us 70,000 over the next few years. But then if we change this to a $100,000 truck, maybe we. Is this, will that? See how that bumps that back up a little bit? I don't know, you know, I'm just, it feels like we have to. And this goes back, you know, I guess we only saved $6,000. I guess my point is, we really need a better rotation plan, and probably everything that was brought up tonight, although it wasn't part of the same motion, is all connected. We have this truck to do a job that's such a narrow window. And maybe that becomes like a low pro 6-wheeler for almost the same price, and it can actually haul material, or maybe it's and then this truck, you know, I'm just throwing things out, but like. We don't really have an up-to-date capital equipment plan. And we need to like,
Well,
I mean,
I got a problem with that statement, right?
yeah,
Because last year, the board tasked
Been talking about
3 of
it.
us to update it, right?
Yeah.
And Jason did go out and get numbers from Cat for all the equipment,
Yeah.
as well as us purchasing an international truck last year.
let me finish.
So to say it's not up to date is kind of a slap in the face. There was a lot of work put into this. Things change.
We updated the same plan in current numbers. Okay, that's all we did. But what we have is we have an issue, we have like different problems now. This plan is designed for the idea 10 years ago. And so we just updated the trading numbers. That's what we updated. But I think we need to start updating our rotation cycles so that we are staying in warranty, so that our repairs are down, so our equipment repairs and maintenance line gets reduced. If we're trading a truck out every 2 years, that means we're matching build times with our capital equipment plan, so we're saving at the right time. And then we actually make Jason pick the trucks that fits the niches that we actually need. And you know what, if we have roads that we can't plow, well, maybe they shouldn't be roads at the driveways. And that's like hard to say out loud, but we have to start looking at this all from a 30,000-foot view down to say, okay, why are we putting this giant truck up in this person's driveway where they're doing 30-point turns around somebody's car? You know, that's not right. And this, you know, let's figure this out. What do we actually need? And then make the plan match the need. But I don't think we've done that part of the plan. It's like, what is the needs of today? And I think this is a huge plan, but I think this is one small bite that we can tackle.
This truck just fit we don't have to have a dump body, we can order a new one, get one without a dump body. This one was just already built, so we saved that having to order the new one and wait for the dump body from, because it was already built by the dealer of the Dodge was. And one of the things me and Tom talked about when I was planning on putting it into this was, we borrowed the building truck a couple of times. Like 6 or 7 different times, we've used their one tons for the little things that you can't fit a bigger truck into. In our little project, going to get full tire, stuff like that. So now this just happened to come about, and it's a really good deal. That's why I put it in the packet. In the end, it's up to you guys. You don't want the truck, don't get the truck. Not a big deal to me. I'll run this truck, but it's out of warranty. It costs some money.
I agree with Tom. I thought we were talking about that before, just keeping them till they ran out of warranty and getting rid of them.
We also, during the budget, talked about leasing, right?
I know, but
And do you
I
remember?
think it's a
what
good
I said?
idea that we get rid of the truck when it goes out of warranty. We're spending 7,000 and change for this truck to get it inspected, which is out of warranty. You know, we're starting to throw good money after bad here.
A yearly.
We're gonna have to bite the bullet somewhere here to get this thing corrected. So this might be the perfect time to do it.
I do have to say a yearly payment's 50 grand, so $7,000 for inspection is hard to swallow, but the entire argument is based on not paying $7,000 to pay 50. I'm not a mathematician here, Mike.
I know
And
what you're talking about.
and we haven't seen the dollars savings for trading trucks on a schedule that is based on their end time warranty either. mean, it's really easy to sit here and say we're gonna save money. If the truck's in warranty, we don't have to spend money on it. But I haven't seen the numbers, so I can't say that that's true or not true.
Then why don't we get the numbers?
We've been saying that for quite a while.
Well, then we
We
need
need
to do
to
it.
do the capital budget.
You can put this one to bed, Peter.
I want to make a motion. We've talked a lot about this and Jason's done a lot of homework. And I think he's made a good case. And I will move that we purchase the Dodge Ram from North Point
You gotta put in a dollar amount.
for $71,178.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'm as cheap as the next guy, but I will second this.
All right. I do have an oddball question. Can we not take receipt till July 1st? Beauty. So we're not going out of rotation.
No, that was fine, we were gonna stay right in where we're supposed to be, so.
Ordering it now, so.
Yeah, just gonna be.
If it's already built, I figured it wasn't a multi-month ordering time.
That make you feel
Can I-
better? Yeah,
It actually did.
good.
It's only 30,000 off next year. I don't have to deal with it this year. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,
Okay.
the ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Better be shiny.
Are they gonna be taking a loan out on this vehicle or are they paying halfway through?
Capital plan hasn't been cash,
If we take a loan out, we're going farther in the hole.
so we're gonna deplete the reserve fund by
30
an
grand,
additional 30 grand.
but there's 200 in it,
What
right?
the hell, it's just money.
And it's taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
This is
So
fun.
it's-
Taxes
Don't be
are
so
going up.
quick
Oh,
with
while we're talking about the capital equipment plan, just want to reiterate. At town meeting, and granted, it's 2 taxpayers that showed up, but Walter and I think Bob Hoag stood up and said that they don't like seeing us putting cash on hand into that equipment fund. We need to put into it what we need. Instead of doing this increase by $8,000, we're gonna need to look at that come budget time. Whether we do it or not is, I guess, ultimately up to us with this.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to look at a different concept for, a plan. The plan that we're seeing now is different than the plan that we had years ago. I mean, years ago, we had a low profile international truck.
Yeah. Yes, Kim?
When you make motion, is there a discussion and is that discussion, I didn't hear any, is it just a select board thing? I mean, we're not allowed to.
I had sensed that the discussion was had because it took up 15 minutes. Do you have something you'd like to add?
It's already passed.
I'm sorry if I missed something.
I didn't know if it was open to discussion for everyone. That was my question.
Some other members of the public had weighed in, I think, before you came. I'm sorry.
Still.
If there's something you'd like to add, you can add it.
Done. But I'll take that. Thank you.
Okay. Next up. 5th employee. Tom, would you like to lead that one off or Jason? Both in conjunction?
Asked out, I believe that was.
But there's you.
Do we actually have print offs?
Where is it in the packet?
It's not.
I think I received it when I was driving down.
We just went over budget, so we don't have money for the employee.
You're as cheap as the day is long, aren't you?
So,
You take one pass.
as you know, one of our employees gave notice, and now we're down to a 4th-person crew. And the board asked me to evaluate what the value is of the 5th person in dollars and cents, not value of their themselves. They're invaluable, of course, but and so I just met with Jason and we kind of put together numbers based on various topics of how much a 5th employee contributes to the town in various categories. I emailed one out earlier. I've since found out there was a difference in the gravel budget of tons versus yards. There's 1.5 tons in 1 yard, so that my numbers were off, but you'll see I highlighted that, so we already, it just made a difference. So as you can see, just the contracted services that we budgeted for or planned for, add up to, roughly 40,000. I think that might go down a bit from 3,500, but I think these are conceptual. Additional overtime with 4 employees, the culvert and ditching projects are estimated at about $5,000. The grants that we have timelines to complete estimated at $3,000. Class 4 roads, $5,000 annually or per storm. So if it's each storm adds, every time we have gully erosion of 1 foot or more, a requirement to fix those roads. And usually that, if we don't have a 5th guy, it would probably have to happen under overtime, is the assumption. Hours required by the committee, so Jason put together X number of hours per committee that he works, just adding those up and using the overtime rate for that breaks out into about how much that is. And then just kind of like the other like miscellaneous items, you can't really put a dollar amount on, just morale and other ramifications that. Right now, we budget 250 hours for the foreman, and this is a unique year. We've been paying a lot of attention to the foreman's hours. In the past, it was salary, and so we never actually knew what his overtime hours was. We never tracked it. This is the first time we've tracked it, and we're not staying within the estimate of 250. And so, down below, I haven't budgeted at 100 extra hours to 350, but it's probably going to be 400 hours by real gas based on this year's numbers. And it means the foreman has no time off in the winter without that 5th person cycling through. Ditching with 1 less employee, it doubles the work time and decreases the productivity. Where you'll have the excavator sitting and waiting for trucks to come back after unloading, as opposed to always having one motion. Vacation happens in the summer. So it dropped down to 1 or 2 person crews. Operator sitting, waiting on trucks. Probably more OT, we are saving by using our gravel pit, that adds up to a dollar amount. And then we'll just probably have to contract work out, and then with the on-call rotation, there's just less free weekends for employees. I'm not sure how much I want to go into all of these things outside of, I don't really know how to handle this, whether this is public or executive session. I'm gonna let you make that call on how much you want me to elaborate. But some of this, I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. I just think it's just, if we do this, then this happens. If we do this, then this happens. And I think just understanding where we are is all that is what I'm trying to show. And I think, of course, it can be a savings, but it means that other things change, right? And so it was a pretty big project that I'm not actually sure how to portray it without, while staying not biased, right? Because I'm just stating things as a change down, and it sounds like I'm giving an opinion, but I'm just stating that's what's going to happen. And so although it may look opinionated, I really trying not to.
I'm opinionated. Again, I think it's like, for me, it's like the truck question. Jason knows what this crew needs. And I, even before seeing these numbers, I feel like, at least at this point in time, five crew members make sense to me. That's my opinionated opinion.
Did you ever do a comparison? Town? Goes
Yeah.
mile.
Number of
We
facts.
specifically asked to have a comparison of numbers of employees per miles of town, and I personally am not gonna be able to make a decision until I see that, and we got this at 5 o'clock this afternoon. That's not enough time for me to evaluate.
I understand, you know, I worked all weekend, I put in over 60 hours last week, and before that was 75 out, like. Catching up.
I get it. I'm just
doing the
saying,
best I
for
can.
me personally,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't get this at 5 o'clock and digest it and make a decision.
I agree, I need some more time to digest this, and I do question like some of the, I guess I wanna be clear that I'm in favor of the employee, like overall, probably. So, but I do question like some of the hours that have been arranged for the different committees and wanna know from the committees if that's right. Cause just speaking from beautification committee, 40 hours a year that the town crew spends, it doesn't seem right, but.
That's with all of our times, because there was 4 of us hanging lights. For about 3 to 4 hours, we had 2 flaggers too. And then we hung the mural up. 2 different times I put blocks there and brought ladders down and had to come down over time and put the ladders back in the shops and stuff like that. So yeah, it's about 40 hours in 2 projects.
Okay.
They're lower than I expected.
Mr. Chairman, seeing this as a free-for-all for discussion. The big push years ago for the 5th employee was the gravel pit. For safety reasons. We no longer maintain the gravel pit, so there's gonna have to be a lot of convincing for me for the 5th employee.
Hang on. Oh, sorry. Kim had her hand up. I didn't want to miss her this time.
My question was just going to be, has the option of having a part-time person. Therefore, you're not doing benefits and all the other things and possibly still contributes, but maybe not as much as it is needed, but also helps the taxpayers. More reasonable.
I don't have an answer for that. Do you guys?
Yeah, I'll go and go over that. I don't know if I'm gonna answer your question, and if I don't, just say I didn't. It's a little about the part-time thing. So when I started. It was 12 years ago, there was 4 highway people, so the 3 and a foreman, 2 part-timers. The part-timers had 600 hours combined a year. And then foreman that was there at the time got done. And became a part-timer. And then we hired a 5th person because of the gravel pit, and the MRGP compliance stuff that was coming down the line. With the ditching, everybody knows the ditching was pretty well not there, and it's behind by a lot. So I hired that, and the part-timer working in the gravel pit and mowing roadsides for us on nights and weekends. Alex Nato. He was doing the gravel pit too on nights and weekends after he got done at Nato's. And then because he took over mainly the part-time, it was 600 hours. The part-timer got a year. So then we got the 5th guy again when I took over. And the board asked me at the time, what can we do? So all my guys and myself, well organized and stepped up, and you know, we can save, it's gonna cost us, you know, we met with Brian at the time, and then it was like, well, what can we do? We wanted to cut the budget. So we cut out the part-time, so some part-time hours, they drop, and then we cut some other things. And then we come revisit this again last year. Last year, the part-time hours got taken away completely. We don't have a part-time, so there's 600 hours already, and we're saving on a part-time employee that we've always had with a 5th employee. And now, you guys are talking about getting away from that 5th employee. Hyde Park had 4-man crew, and they just hired a 5th employee this year because they're all backed up now. One of the things that we're so far, say more ahead, but doing well off, as Alec knows, is our MRGP compliance. And how we're doing with our ditching, how we do with our culvert upsizing, and how we do generally with road maintenance. That is about the team and the team that can do the different jobs the same day, like grading, You gotta have a chloride truck behind it, or the fines all blow through the air, you want those fines in the road. So you gotta have that out there at the same time, the greater component that walking will be beneficial, and to keep the fines in place and everything locked down. Because if you wait too long, it dries the dirt out. And then the chloride stuff, for the price we pay for $1 something a gallon, almost worthless, we're going on top of dry dirt that's been in the sun and all. It's not doing what it's supposed to, so we run, there's 2 employees. And then with us, with our ditching, we have a guy in an excavator and 2 guys in trucks, so there's always a loaded truck leaving, coming back. It was brought up to me today, well, we could hire an outside source, we could have a contractor come in with their own excavator and their person. They're anywhere from $120 to $170 an hour. And they probably don't work the same schedule as we do from 6 to 2:30. They might want to work a different schedule, or maybe they will work another schedule. But without everything that comes up with us, some days we don't ditch. Some days we ditch for a half a day and then we go get some culvert or mess around on a class 4 road because something's come up. So it's hard to line contractors up and be versatile like we are. Different things. The biggest thing is gonna be the effect of this is all the guys got used to having an off-call weekend in order. Or an off-call week, because this last winter, in particular, you know it every day. Guys work 2 weeks straight sometimes. That kind of gets old on not the guys so much, but as their families. Their young kids and wives want their significant other back. And with the way we had it, a lot of the guys take their week off that they're not on call and use comp time and not overtime. So there's only 2 of us that high on overtime who didn't use comp time, and that's myself and Mark O'Leary. He didn't take a lot of comp time. The other guys were way down. One guy's got like 70 hours overtime instead. But he's still getting comp. There's a lot of savings that goes down. There's a lot of things that we do that no one knows in the public that we do because it's not talked about, like this library that we went over and gutted. And then braced up the inside and nonstop dirt work and everything else. And I'm pretty sure that library might be still on that street if my guys didn't jump into action, put a tire on the beat that night. So. Let's say, there's a lot of things that my guys do and myself that. It's not really in our wheelhouse to have to do, but we just do it. Library, we didn't even put, not even a thing, we just did it. Now it's all finished off over there and stuff. So. We can talk about downsizing it. We could, and you can, financially, it's your guys' responsibility at the end of things, spending the money the best way you see out. Morale wise in my shop, it's gonna really hit hard. And I'm gonna say it, I don't care who's feeling like you're hurt. Highway department. Does the jobs all the time, no questions asked, and don't put up any fuss. Think of that when you make your decisions.
And you do it well.
We're getting a lot of want to discuss from the public. Could you be clear and concise? Casey first.
Yeah, it's a very quick question. Out of ignorance. Are there different grades of employees in terms of in the department, or can there be? Different grades of pay level and insurance level? Depending on what they're doing. I just don't know that.
Half of that's no. Insurance levels are, we can't really force somebody to take it or not. And is it Vermont state law? Once you're 30 hours a week, you get 100% of the benefit.
It's federal.
I guess I meant work type, workers' comp insurance and work that they, how dangerous the work that they do is.
Does that make a difference, Rosemary?
They're classified. So, you know, if it's highway crew and they're working on the highway department, it's gonna be one workers' comp rate. Regardless of
So the
employment.
insurance is the big thing. The pay scale, they are paid at different pay scales a little bit because of qualification and how they go on the pay scale and how many years of service they have. What equipment they can run, and then there's a safety program that VLCT is part of too, that the training happens, and then they get a percentage. How many, where they are on the training. But for us, CDL employee, I mean, they're all gonna be around within a few dollars of each other, give or take.
Okay, thank you.
Last public comment there.
Yeah, I was wanting to talk to you today about the backhoe and the other stuff today. I didn't understand until I talked to him today about all this different stuff that he does for all the different charities that are stuff within the municipalities of Johnson. And I asked him why. Why were you gutting a building in the library? Why were you putting blocks underneath it? Why were you doing this? This was a job that they had money on, or whatever. Our roads didn't get graded. Our road, they did what they could do, but they were busy boys. I understand that now because I want to know why they were where they weren't. Because I'm a taxpayer in the town. So they're doing this stuff out here, and they're working for Casey down here, and they're working on this committee or that committee here. These guys are highway guys. I know they say highway works guys. If we don't give them the fit person, which I would definitely, before I talked to them, I didn't think we needed it because I'm old school and I remember the 4 and the 3. So either someone's got to give, and this is up to you people, you're all taxpayers. Either if you want to go to 4, he's gonna just take care of the town, grade roads, do stuff, do the ditching or whatever, and off it goes. Or if you're gonna go to 5, of course, he said he doesn't mind doing what he does, but I do know you can't cut one thing and expect the same thing going on. But my take is, as being in the construction league, our guys should not have been over in that building, gotten it. I don't know who told them, don't care, it's done, told it. They should not be over there with that kind of risk on our insurance, they should not. And I said, you wanna turn around, and I just heard her say, they couldn't go over and grade the ball field. What happened to the guys that were in the rec committee, they all got together with their little lawn tractors and they went and did it. Why are these guys doing it? Because we pay them? And then I saw him over there when they did Howard's project over there for the rail trail, same thing. He came and dug it for it for the concrete guys to come. There's a time that bounce back and forth, and remember, it's town taxpayers, you're paying for them to do this. Some of these people are in these charities, I don't care who you are or what you are. If you wanna do this, we put a whole, if you guys remember, we put a whole playground together with taxpayers, we moved the whole school with taxpayers. We just went over and got together and did it. We did parking lots, we did it, off with the highway guys, we use their equipment. So you're gonna do these functions. And you're not gonna give them the 4th God, our 5th God. Don't call them that. I don't think you should. That's just my take.
Thank you. All of this to say, because we got some information a little late, is it gonna be a game stopper if we make a decision in 2 weeks?
We have the one person that's a huge candidate that helped us on the night that moved the library is very interested in the job. He's
I tried to call you about this. But you're on vacation and I just haven't touched base with you directly on it. I would like 2 weeks, but I just,
who's that on them, boys, all the time.
which, you know, in the past, we did have some submissions for an empty space, right? We had 2 for 1 spot and timing wise, it didn't work out. We ended up with a better candidate at that point, who's still employed here. Not saying that'll happen every time. And I just marinate on it. We could have a special meeting if you guys want to.
The other thing I just all need to know is one employee that's getting ready for retirement, hasn't given me a date, says he doesn't 100% know when he wants to.
That is something I called about.
So that is one thing in the wheelhouse. It could happen tomorrow, it could happen in a year, it could happen in a month. It's up to him at the end. And but that is another thing that's obviously going down. And I did plan this summer's projects with the idea of us having a 5-person crew. So we are gonna be pretty busy, and I've already had some different people reach out for stuff, and I'm thinking, I don't think we're gonna be able to get to it, just because time wise.
Oddball idea for the board. I don't know if this is even fair. We post for the position. But we meet again in 2 weeks. After we've had time to mull over all the information. We'd have interviews. If we didn't like any of the candidates for whatever reason, we wouldn't be hiring anyways. I don't know.
I'm fine with that.
Is that playing a gray area too much?
I already digested, so.
You're a quick digester.
So I guess, you know, I guess I can go with that if that's the only way we can go forward.
How do you guys feel?
I don't think it's fair to candidates or the crew to
That's why I said it's a,
post when we haven't actually made a decision whether we want a fifth person.
that's why I asked if it was a little too gray.
Great for me.
It's great for me.
Okay, that if I apply for a job, turned out it wasn't even an option.
All right, we'll take it up in 2 weeks. I gotta talk to Jason and I tried and we didn't hit. Next item up, and I got,
The resolution.
well, I don't know if it matters what we move where. We have 16 more items to cover and we're only 45 minutes behind.
Yeah,
16 items, even if we're at 10 minutes a piece here is 160 minutes, which is gonna put us here for another 2 hours and 20 minutes. Is the board comfortable if we cap each item at 10 minutes? Because we got a lot of ground to cover. We're gonna get out of here at 10 at best.
Try it again.
I want to get as much done as fast as we can.
We don't want you to run out of steam.
But I'm gonna run out of steam at some point. I can
We
tell you right
didn't
now.
really move that at the beginning of the meeting, but we could cover a lot of really quick ground.
Okay.
All right, Better Roads Grant, Tom.
So, town applied and received a grant in December for $8,160 with a match of $2,040 to do a road and culvert inventory. Or road inventory, and Jason would like to hire LCPC to do this. This is at a considerable saving. Was it 2 years ago? We put out to bid, the numbers came back around 17 to 20,000 to have a consultant do this. LCPC has provided a draft agreement. It's in your signature folder. I haven't even read it yet. I think it's drafted out today. Where they would agree not to not go over that $10,000 grant amount. And so that way our match would stay at that 2040 would be the maximum amount we pay. But just, it seems like it's under the 3,000, but just can Jason work with LCPC to get this road inventory done?
What are we gonna, what's it gonna entail? What are we gonna get?
Yeah, so each hydrologically connected road segment is required to be inventoried by somebody by October 31, 2027. So the plan is that we would get you guys done this year, maybe bleed into the next spring, depending on our schedule. The contract, the grant that you have runs until 2027, so there's no timeline issue in that end. And we would even, we even help you guys get the reimbursement. We would not manage the project, but we will, we'll make sure you guys get the reimbursement paperwork as fast as possible.
Hasn't an inventory already been done?
And it has to be, 2019 was the last one they required because the permit just reset in 2024, I think. And then it will reset again in 2027.
And does that, maybe this is a question for you, Jason, does that inventory assign specific areas that need specific improvement?
That inventory goes through and updates the site, so the state has an idea of what segments are red and green, but red and green, what is failing, what's not failing, what's up to standard, what's not up to standard, if there's a minimum burn, and they changed the site drastically, so the MRDP redesigned itself a little bit, it's more informational now, so now they can't fail a segment for just having a little bit of burn. Yeah, it can pass with a little bit of a burn if it's maintained. So it's a huge thing, and it helps out the town on this whole MRDP thing.
You guys already saw.
So the new inventory will take into account all the work that you have been doing over the past few years. And
Yeah.
in theory, other areas will become priority areas that will help us get Better Back Roads grants. Or I guess
So
that'll
as long
come.
as the roads are staying intact, which a lot of your guys are, we're chasing it. Those segments will stay green as long as there's no erosion on the road. Like I said, we have to look at each road regardless of whether it was touched a week ago or 2 years ago. So we will inventory every segment in town, every hydrologically connected segment in town. And then you have this database of updated information that Jason works off of every year to come up with projects for grant funding and priority areas.
And that includes the class 4s too, right?
Correct.
So they'll change the roles every so often, we'll have to do it again.
So the permit isn't changing per se, it's, it renews, so the town pays an annual fee on it and does an annual report on it. What it comes down to is the data in there now is from 2019. Jason's done a lot of work since then. So segments that are red in there might not be red. That is, you know, so we want to get those updated. It's specifically related to grant funding. There's yearly grants, tens of thousands of dollars that rely on this database.
Nothing we can do about it.
It's also required by the state.
Move to approve.
Second.
You guys need to authorize the signatory.
The move to authorize the chair and or the town administrator to sign the grant agreement.
Friendly amendment. Accepted.
The grant was already signed by you guys in the fall.
The contract.
That's the contract with LCPC. So your motion is to enter into a contract with LCPC for road data analysis, blah, 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 blah.
Authorizing the chair and or the town administrator to sign.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
It was a second.
Mike is the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Right?
All those opposed and the ayes have it. Next up, letter of support LCPC for clean water service provider.
I move to authorize the town administrator to sign the letter of support for LCPC.
I'll second.
Third.
Motion, second, third, and a fourth. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Authorize Tom, that's great. Tom, anything with VHB amendment?
Nope, that's over.
All right, rail trail committee projects. I believe we have somebody here.
So this is just an update of all our the grant projects that we're doing. Some of the stuff is already been approved, like the Alexander Center.
The improvements on the trail that happened, yeah.
And then the grandstairs, is that one?
It needs to go, that is to, the project, the work needs to be done by 12 Lincoln. That has not done.
Do any board members,
So,
do any board members have issues with any of these projects?
Thank you for all that detailed information. By the way.
You guys have said,
you wanna know.
I've said it before, you guys are working with the village on their property
Yes,
thing.
yes. And then the other thing we wanted to know is if any of the grants that we've been awarded that were not spent by the end of this fiscal year, will it roll over for our committee for the next fiscal year?
Do you trust Rosemary?
The answer is
Yeah.
I didn't know if that automatically happened.
It doesn't automatically happen. You should make a request that we do that. So at the end of the fiscal year, any unspent grant funds. If you're making that request right now, we can.
We are making that.
Okay.
You want to make a motion?
I would move that any unspent funds as of June 30th. Related to rail trail grants or projects. Be rolled over and reserved as part of the town's cash on hand.
Second.
Motion and second, further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Quick question,
Sure.
in the project category. Oh, I see, okay, I'm wondering. Thinking the Village Green's actually a good spot for a bike rack.
They're not listening to you.
Sorry.
Seems like the Village Green's a good spot for a bike rack, so I'm wondering why move it all the way over to the
They're
Spring.
putting bike chargers there instead.
We're putting in the bike chargers. Which are his bike rack.
Which is also a bike rack.
So it has a smaller profile, and the village is concerned about too much stuff there, and what we wanted to put is a map. Either a kiosk or a map stand, and that would be a good spot to put it,
Got it,
where the bike rack.
okay,
The bike racks need to be repair.
Sandblasting repair, and I think BJ's been talking about doing that, and so. It may be a good time to move it.
Good.
And we do own, I believe, 15 individual rep or individual bike stands. They're all members. Are they all welded together in 4s and 3s? Yeah. Okay. So I think we have 4 or 5 different sites that we can put bike racks.
That spot on the village green where the bike racks are is a great spot to put a map kiosk that will. As people come into town and see that and go, oh, there's stuff going on.
Yeah.
Here. And
Yeah.
we encourage them to use things, recreate, spend money, but this is our business. That's what, so that's the.
But we're dealing with them.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
You good?
Yep.
Okay, next item. Resolution. Condemning acts of due process. If you pick us off on that.
So this came as a email request and board member felt strongly about it, to get it on the agenda. I've been thinking a lot about it, and I reached out to some colleagues today about, hey, what are your thoughts on this? And the thing I heard about it that was actually that I think hit home the best was that this is such a big issue that this is larger than the opinion of 5 people, but this is actually should be the opinion of an entire town. And something of this magnitude should probably go to go before the whole town and not just five people. And that whether or not you represent the whole town is a whole nother topic, but it's a really big issue to put out there just on the names of the selectboard.
Hang on one sec. I see Scott.
Yeah,
I just wanted to give Adrian a chance.
I know, but we don't know, I don't know what the resolution is.
Yes, yeah.
So if it's, where do we get a copy to look at to even make a comment?
Well, I think, are we ready for a copy or it's like forward the email?
You could,
Maybe I could give some backstory real quick.
Adrian, let's speak to it.
So, I mean, I hear you on that, Tom, but I kind of think that this is something that we could easily pass because it's just reaffirming that we believe that First Amendment rights and Fifth Amendment rights are valid and that we abide by those in our town. So just some backstory on this. We were forwarded a resolution from the city of Rutland that they passed on April 21st. This resolution was sent to us and the village trustees by Peter Franzoni, a Rutland resident and a U.S. Army veteran, who urged us to consider adopting it here as well. There have been some deeply troubling incidents in Vermont that speak directly to this resolution's urgency. First, Moshin Madai, a college university student who has lived in Vermont since 2014, was arrested this April by ICE during what was supposed to be a routine citizenship interview in Colchester, Vermont. There was growing concern that he was targeted because of his pro-Palestine activism. In response, the Vermont Senate passed a resolution condemning the arrest and calling for his release. Then, Rumashi Oztuk, a doctoral student at Tufts University, she was arrested in March and transferred through Vermont before being sent to Louisiana. Her detention appears to be a retaliation for co-authoring an op-ed on Gaza. Her legal team argues this was a clear violation of both her free speech and her due process rights. A federal judge has since ordered her to return to Vermont for a hearing. The response so far to this, a federal judge ordered her return. Oh, I just read that. Tonight, I want to bring forward this resolution and, sorry, also. So the other response is to these situations was Governor Scott, who put out a statement about Moshin Madai's arrest. This is a portion of it. Facts matter. If there is evidence that Madai is a threat to the security of our nation of Vermont, the federal government should make this information known immediately. The power of the executive branch of the federal government is immense, but is not infinite, and it is not absolute. So that was a quote by him. In addition to Rutland, the Burlington City Council has also adopted a resolution unanimously voted in by the entire council. Some see this as a federal issue, but these chips at federal level will trickle down to us on the select board. Why is this necessary for the select board to adopt? If First Amendment and Fifth Amendment rights keep getting chipped away, it will fall to local government to keep these in place. So for the select board, without due process, the following would affect our town. Loss of legal protections for the town, increased liability, the town could face lawsuits, fines, settlements, unfair governance, the town's actions could become arbitrary or biased. Residents' rights to fair hearings or appeal would vanish. Erosion of transparency processes would lack accountability and clarity. And then if there wasn't free speech, the following would affect the town. Residents couldn't voice concerns at select board meetings like this one. Criticism of town policies or officials could be punished. People might self-censor to avoid backlash or consequences, causing a lack of communication and making collaboration suffer. Personally, I urge us to follow Governor Scott, Rutland, Burlington City Council's lead and adopt this resolution. So, yeah.
Any other board members? Not something they'd like to add? I guess not, Kim.
Just quick to counter what Tom said. You guys are making decisions, $71,000 per truck. I mean, you're making all the decisions for our town. This is just another decision. If people don't like it, they can petition it, but I think it's really important to safeguard the Constitution and that people get due process, and I think Johnson should stand up and be counted as people who support government.
How does everybody want to speak on this? I just gotta ask. Is it?
I would request that we keep the public comment down to a certain number of minutes so that everybody has a chance. So I would ask everybody to make your remarks very brief.
Thank you. Jackie had her hand up first.
Yes, I agree with Kim. This is an important time to meet the moment that we're in and to affirm the Constitution of the United States of America and the rule of law. You are elected officials, and it would mean a lot to me as a constituent for you to just, this is you affirming what I think you are ready for, and I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we've already taken an oath of allegiance to the state of Vermont. We've also taken an oath of office to the board that we sit on. Would you like me to read it out loud?
We had one other person.
Okay.
From the
We'll
public.
let them know.
You can read it out loud. Sorry, the gentleman in front of you. Do you want to go at some point?
Speak as well, but you had a first, so by all means.
I don't know you, but I think you did the right way. You went to the right thing and calling other people in here. I don't think 5 people can make this decision for the town of Johnson. You may make it for some. I think if this is something people want to vote on, because I don't think we put you into position for political decisions. You're here to make financial decisions, got it? Not political, because not everybody's saying that Democrats, Republicans don't make any difference. I think if you want a decision on this thing, send it out in the mail to every resident in there and have them vote it, send it back. I don't want you guys doing that by decision. I do not.
Thank you. You can read your.
I'm going
oath
to read
now.
the oath of office and the Vermont oath of allegiance every select board member has taken. I'm just going to read it because this is a copy of mine. I, Michael E. Dunham, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont, and I will not directly or indirectly do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution of the government thereof, which we're talking about the state of Vermont. So help me God, under pains of penalties or perjury. Oath of office. I, Michael E. Dunham, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Select Board for the town of Johnson, and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons to the best of my judgment and ability, according to the law. So help me God, under the pains and penalty or perjury. Michael Dunn. I feel as if I've already done this. And I don't need to reaffirm anything because I already took the oath of office. That's my feeling.
I'd like to make a motion.
Sure, there were still some people that I wanted to hear, but do you guys,
Yeah, I wanted to say that.
I just wanted everybody to speak.
It's basically reaffirming that the Constitution will be upheld on a local level. If it fails to be established even on a state level, it will on a local level still persist, and we will still operate the constitutional values that give us America. I think that a lot of people are still afraid right now and feeling that their voices are not heard. I think it's important that at least on a local level, we say we got your back if we see somebody being abducted or put down because they're violating or their constitutional rights are being violated, that we will acknowledge that as a town. And I think that's really what this event is about.
You good?
I would like to piggyback off.
Take you back away, you had your hand up.
The Constitution of the United States is the foundation of our government and our democracy. That is the reason that all of you were elected and are legislators in our town. So you represent our democracy and our Constitution as a whole, which you said. But we have had multiple acts both in our state and across the nation that have violated directly our Constitution of the United States and has violated people's freedom of speech and their right to due process. Because of that, it is absolutely necessary that anyone that is an elected official comes forward to protect their citizens, because that is your duty. And so, as community members, as people of this town and of the town of Johnson, it is your duty to uphold democracy and to protect the Constitution, which means protecting our freedoms and our rights.
Can I just respond to that real quickly?
Adrian has a motion he wants to make.
Go ahead.
Are you good?
The duty is spelled out in Vermont state statute, and it is not to the United States Constitution. It is to the Vermont Constitution, and it is very clearly spelled out in state statute. Our roles and responsibilities are not related to walking up to an ICE agent and saying, you can't arrest this person. So I would just ask you to familiarize yourself with the roles and responsibilities of our job as select board members. And the way you're framing it is a lot broader than what we are authorized and empowered to do under state statute.
Everybody's cutting Adrian off.
No.
We got, how much, I see 3 hands. Oh, your hand's not. All right, go for it, Paul.
Okay, real briefly.
I missed you once, Kevin. Every time I'm like, Kevin.
I do think it's important for us to meet the moment, as Jackie said here. This is a very important issue. I don't think the federal government particularly cares what the town of Johnson thinks. However, I think it's important for us to be on record. And it's lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. Comes with age, it's okay. Yeah, we lost the second half of what I was gonna say, but I want to go on record and saying, I do think it's important for us to go on record opposing any violation of the Constitution. I do think, however, I did have a chance to read the proclamation or declaration, and I would take issue with some of the wording in that. So I think if we're going to adopt something, it should be gone through very carefully.
I agree, Paul.
Peter's got something.
Yeah.
Sorry, you yielded to everybody. I'm sorry.
So I guess first thing I want to say is that I share your disgust with the immoral actions of this regime. And I, as an individual, will continue to protest. I do not feel it's appropriate for the five of us to speak on an issue that has also become highly partisan for the entire town. So that is why, Adrian, I regret I will not second the motion.
Can you make the motion now?
Yes. I move that the Johnson Selectboard adopt a resolution condemning attacks on due process, affirming the constitutional rights of all people in our town, and rewriting the language of this resolution to reflect Johnson's values and voice.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? For lack of a second, the motion dies. Thank you all very much. Next item, beautification committee mini grant approval. I believe that's in our packet. Sorry, I have to get past all the rail trails pictures. Wait, no, I went too far. And policies, where is it? It was pretty, oh, it's right there. Okay. So, do you want to take the floor on this one?
Yeah, so the beautification committee gives out mini grants every year. And we got maybe like 8 or 9 applications. So at our last meeting, we reviewed those applications and we were kind of tighter on our budget this year. So we weren't able to accept all of them. And there were some other good ones that we weren't able to accept. But we picked Lee Gregory for $200. Diane Lehulier for $125, Crystal Woodward for $150, Kim Dunkley for $150, and Hazel Landis. They asked for a larger sum, but we are able to give them $150.
How's the board feel?
And this is the 775 is the total,
Yeah.
and that's within the beautification's budget.
Let's budget like $1,000, don't you?
Move to accept the beautification committee's recommendations.
Second.
Motion and second, further discussion?
I think this is a really cool thing.
I think Crystal Woodward should be going to Mark Woodward.
Yeah, because Mark last year said he was gonna.
Do you realize how much money he got paid for this year for 3 years? He can dole a little out, you know? I hope you're watching, Mark.
I can almost guarantee he's not.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,
He said he's enjoying his retirement.
and the ayes have it. Next up, library relocation items. Tom, do you want to take that away? Do you want me to with policies? You got it.
First, I just want to thank, really the entire community of Johnson. That was a spectacular move. I think that was probably in times of uncertain construction, that project mobilized so fast and was executed. The 177 people signed in and not a single injury. You know, that is remarkable. You know, we had people inspecting us from the agency of transportation and OSHA, and we did awesome. That is really a special day that we should all be proud of. And just everybody, every problem that was presented, a solution was found, and it just that took the entire community. So I just want to say thank you. We are in place and I'm privy.
And can I say something?
Yeah.
I just want to say that you did a really good job, Tom, with the library. You did a really great job. And you spent a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of hours on it. You did a great job orchestrating it and following through with it. I also that, and you know, so many people made this move happen. Jean, you worked so hard on it, and the library trustees, and it was really magical watching the library move. Something I'll personally remember forever, and it was so invigorating to the community, and I feel a real energy right now to do more bigger projects like this. And it's just a big step in the path of flood resiliency, and I'm super excited about it and so happy it happened.
Chapter 1, rewriting your story.
That was the heads up, I believe. Your hand's not broken.
No,
You're
no. Not. I just wanted to throw that out there. Great deal of respect and gratitude for pulling this thing off. It was a circus. And my apologies for coming back and telling you I turned the state sign on. It goes from Route 15 for a cake party in downtown Johnson. It was only a joke.
Well done. I hope you got a picture.
All right, so back to business so we can keep moving.
We have two contracts. When we agreed, it was November, I think it was second meeting of October. We agreed to work with Mumley for a term of 1 year, up to 3 years to be reviewed. We never entered into a contract with them, and so they, in the process of getting reimbursement, when I reviewed everything, I couldn't find one. The Mumley drafted two contracts that were in the packet. These are for the projects that are currently undergoing. One
I'd
is for
like
the
to move to
library.
approve the authorization for the chair of the town administrator to sign up contracts as.
Thanks.
Is that both?
Yes, it is both.
Okay,
Second is the policy.
hang on. There's a motion. There's a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Thanks.
Now we need 3 policies for reimbursement, and I just want to stress that this isn't a great process. It came very quickly. And I'm asking you to approve policies in the way that I drafted them. In the email tonight and in the packet, is they are specific to this project only. So they are in place, but they are only for the library ARPA grant. So that way, I'm gonna ask you to approve these 3 policies. And know that they are only temporary for this grant, and know that they need to be reviewed again, I think, probably at the next meeting in May, if not the meeting in June, that we should. We need to not just let them flat slide away, and there's $500,000 sitting out for reimbursement, that if we don't pass these policies, we're not getting reimbursed.
There's 3, right?
There's 3, can I see that? The signature copy?
I think there's only 2 that got sent out.
Yeah, there's
The
one.
third one got sent out like this afternoon, I think.
Yes.
Did you get your signed copy back?
Tom, just a quick question. These policies would be generally the minimum standards requirements for spending federal money,
Correct. Yes,
basically.
it is, and so. I said, Rosemary's looked at them. We started a financial management policy back in Brian's time, we just never got through it, and so we need it. And this is a start, that's why I don't want to just pass them and leave them, and I made them project specific. But I do think we should look at all of these for the larger picture, but not just sign off on it, you know, so I wanted to be careful to make sure we protected Johnson as well, right?
You've dealt with these things before, is this usually?
I dealt with them, the village has very similar policies because they did lots of federal reimbursement. But the town probably never did actually adopt any of those policies.
I've never even heard of that cost.
So I would move to approve the 3 policies that Tom is suggesting. I just want to make a caveat that I hate doing this last minute. And not really having a full opportunity to review, but I understand the urgency of it. And I am moving that we adopt the policy. Yeah.
There's a motion on the floors and there's a second. Is there further discussion? Do you want anybody to review them or just have Tom sign them, send them?
Can somebody review, please?
So I think the important piece of this is that the town adopts the policies, right? Is there any kind of resolution that we need
Is
to?
there a signature page?
There is a signature page on there.
I meant like a signature authority.
Yeah,
my
okay,
question.
so my motion would include the authorization for the town administrator and or the board chair to sign the individual policies.
That's an amendment. Is it friendly to the seconder?
Very Roman friendly.
Oh, great. All right, further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. The ayes have it.
Is there is there a resolution required indicating that the town has adopted these policies, or is the signature enough?
I'm gonna use the minutes, the signature, and probably send them straight to that. I think that's the way to go. To show that you guys made a motion and passed, to authorize me to sign, and then send them the signed copy.
Wonderful.
If a resolution was required, I was just gonna suggest that,
I don't,
you know.
no,
We
it
could,
just said that we had, there was like 6 policies we had to have. And I think they needed a copy of them, and these were 3 that we did not.
yeah, okay.
Good with that, Gene? Glad. Concrete?
Bids are coming in next Monday at 4 p.m. We had the mandatory site visit today. We had 3 people who expressed interest, but only 1 person showed up. I would like to ask the board to delegate the award of that bid to a board member, preferably the library committee, similar as we did other RFPs. So that if it can be awarded on Monday, you know, just making sure the price and everything lines up on the response. Then we're only may get 1. We had a mandatory site visit, and only 1 person showed up. So if they put a bid in, there's not competition, but we need to make sure it still meets all of our constraints. If that could be delegated to a single board member, they can get started on construction next week as well. This proposal had a tight timeline, so that we can get the building onto a foundation. If we delay 45 days. Beyond 45 days, it costs us $600 a day in fines until the steel is removed. So there is.
Didn't we talk about this at one point? Like, as long as we had a plan, you said he wouldn't fine us, as long as we had somebody lined up. Has he changed his mind and not honoring his word?
You know, I checked in with him and he said. He didn't say anything other than make sure you keep me in the loop. I won't do you wrong. So I just think we owe him. If we're only gonna have 1 person who can submit a bid and meet the requirements of the request for proposal. You know, can we just have that be selected next Monday rather than waiting a week? It just.
Did I read the RFP and I honestly don't remember. Did the RFP indicate a time that the pour needed to take place so that we don't end up in the 45-day penalty phase?
Believe.
Because it seems to me that would be a pretty important consideration about selecting a contractor.
I definitely put it in the email to 5 direct requests. And it was made clear at the site visit.
And is the individual that attended the site visit the same person that you're referring to with the keep me in the loop, I won't do you wrong?
No, keep me in the loop, won't do you wrong, is Lou Nam, the owner of New England Building Mover. So they moved the building. And in the contract with the building mover, he has a clause that says, okay, we'll move it for you, but it can't sit up. You can't stay like that forever. You have 45 days from the date of the move, from the date that it's cricked, so the dollies are out, to pour a foundation, or we're gonna charge you $600 a day to get, because he needs his steel back.
Yeah, but he's not proposing to pour the concrete.
No. Yeah, I reached out to Walker, SD Ireland, Barnes.
Harrison?
I did not reach out to Harrison. You want me to reach it?
I wanna see 2 bids.
I don't know that we'll have the time to do that.
Harrison does a lot of concrete.
Harrison does lots of concrete. They've got a batch plant relatively close by. And they do a lot of form work.
Okay.
I would think if somebody's gonna do it, it's gonna have to be a larger.
Well,
Especially if it's a tight time frame, it's gonna have to be somebody that can get in there and
the
hammer
person
it
who
out.
does it, does like bridge construction for the state, just like several 100-yard pours.
Who's that?
I don't know that I want to say their name because it's a sealed bid. I mean, I guess is the site, people who attend the site visit public? I don't know that.
Harrison is between Marshall and Walker. That's Harrison.
Yeah.
We did have
You,
know,
you
we-
said you wanna see 2 bids.
Yeah, I'd like to see 2 bids.
But we had an RFP that stated clearly. For 5 different potential contractors. You have to be at the site visit if you wanna place a bid.
But
They were
Harrison
not,
didn't get a.
but you know, we can ask Harrison and then. They don't give a bid, you know, they're not interested.
And we're in a market right now. We're not getting multiple bids. How many bids did they get for the garage, the USDA garage? You know, I just think we're not in a very competitive market, especially with a very tight timeline. We have a budget that we have to adhere to, and those are our constraints that we're gonna allow this bid or not, but. I think. Your point is valid. I'll reach out to Harrison and say, can you schedule a site visit this week and when can you get a bid by, and then we can adjust the RFP.
If you make a phone call tomorrow, they may say, we're booked up, we're not interested, don't even bother.
Well, let's do it, yeah.
In which case,
We need to find out.
But that doesn't give us 2 bids.
it could.
Is there anyone else that you want me to, your point's valid, and I think we're gonna do it anyways, and just, we can always. Is there anyone else? Do I overlook? Like, let's use this as an opportunity to spread it out.
Where was it posted so that people could actually see it and?
It went on our website and it went out direct request, because we only had 2 weeks to respond and bother putting it on the bid.
Who to go directly to?
It went to. Well, I think I know. Walker, SD Ireland, Barnes, Brian Rolanitis, who has showed interest in this project. It's not him, but he was forwarding it on to somebody who starts with a B in Morrisville. I don't know who the guy is. And DK Construction. So those are the 5.
I don't know, call Carol and who's that guy up in Newport? They're pretty big. Why can't I think of their
I
name?
can't remember, I know what you mean, but I can't
It's
remember.
killing me. Call Carol. They have
Carol
farm workers.
Concrete, Yeah,
They sell a lot of concrete.
Tomorrow.
I'm telling you, a lot of concrete. they
Yeah.
sell.
yeah, and you know, somebody that has a batch plant. Could be very competitive and might have the ability to actually do it within the time frame.
That's really gonna annoy me.
What's that?
Why I can't think of their name.
Do they also have a batch plan?
I think so. It's not big.
Well, if you think of it,
I'll Google
let
it.
him know. I mean, I don't think it hurts to get more than one proposal.
Why don't we do that? And if they show interest, we can push. I guess today, if anybody, I'll try to find a company, there'll be 3 more companies I'll reach out to tomorrow. If any one of them shows interest, we'll do it, and they can get to a site visit this week. I will ask if they can give us a bid, the promise of a response by next week. Sometime next week, then we'll delay it a week. If all 3 of them say, no, we can't do it, can we delegate somebody today to work the RFP? So it's, you know, we can still move forward, but if we'll delay it if there's a reason to delay, but let's not delay for delay's sake.
It was Goslin.
Dawson?
Goslin.
Goslin, yeah, Goslin.
There's Frank Hurd in Morrisville.
HUARD.
Alright, so Tom's asking if he can get 2 bids and whatever, can we delegate somebody by Monday? Do we want to just have a special meeting on Monday? Open the bids?
Yes,
Do you guys want to be a part of it or not? I think that alleviates your question, maybe not in the same way, but we're still gonna answer Monday.
Monday by 4 PM, or if I hear from one of these people, I might delay the response to make sure they can get pricing.
Yeah, what I really want to make sure of though is that they can hit the target date so that we don't pay the $600
Yeah, because no matter,
penalties.
exactly.
Yeah. So I don't want to lose the opportunity, but I think it would be great if we can get more people to be interested.
I think Tom needs direction here. I think he's asking for it. We're not giving it to him.
I'm fine with having a special meeting if that's what we need to do, and I'm also fine with delegating Peter to
Make a motion,
award a contract.
make a motion.
Well, what would, I heard Mike say he'd like to have a special meeting and open the bids.
Sure.
What would you like to do?
Whatever gets it done fastest.
Both of these are the same time frame. You just have to go to an extra meeting one way.
Okay. And I don't mind going to next week, so.
Can we all meet Monday at 4? That's when they're due by.
Fine.
Sure.
4?
We'll have it
You
on-
know, I don't need to be here. 3 board members need to be here. Can you guys do it?
Yeah.
We have 3 retired board members. I don't need to be.
Did you say retarded?
Semi-retired.
Sure.
Okay.
If you guys can make, Tom,
Politically incorrect.
we're doing a meeting next Monday, special meeting to award contract bidders. Based on you reaching out, if you push it back, you're gonna let us know. Email out the board tomorrow morning and see what time works for them. I don't have to be here.
All right,
I can
and,
tell you 4 doesn't, actually 4 might work.
and to make the warning part of this perhaps a little easier, I'm gonna suggest that we adjourn this meeting to Monday at 4. I mean, you can go ahead and post it as a special meeting, but technically, if we're adjourning this meeting to a specific time, date and place, you don't have to do this,
Notice.
the notification process.
Okay, I think we have an answer on the last thing for the library, correct, Tom?
Yeah.
All right, next up,
So do we need to make that, I think to adjourn to a specific time, date and place needs to be a motion. So I'm
do we
gonna
do that
make,
at the end of the meeting?
we can, but don't let us lose track of
Okay.
it.
Yep. I have a note right here. Okay, Tom, can you take away the VEC agreement, MSI contract?
So we did some historical research. Looked like the only agreement that was historical was the grant agreement itself. That grant agreement is still in place. Is
The MSI contract was done too.
I don't know that I remember that.
I'm not crazy, am I?
What?
We motioned to award MSI the bid.
We motioned to award them the bid. I just needed your
We
delegation.
didn't sign a contract.
We didn't
Yeah.
sign them. Okay.
No, just to say, hey, Tom, sign the contract for Johnson. That's all we need for that one. But I think the agreement, I added some language that Duncan suggested. I think it's like cleaner. Is to. So the reimbursement that the town is to be reimbursed the maximum amount allowable by the grant. And some language that Mumley will be representing the town Johnson.
I move to authorize the town administrator or the chair to sign the VEC agreement, but and thereafter to sign the MSI contract.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second and a third. Is there further discussion? I think you were already clear on the process, Tom, but it's written in stone. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, and the ayes have it. I really want the 250th anniversary resolution to look pretty.
I know, I need help with that.
Kim volunteered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's good with stuff like that.
Can we motion to approve the resolution?
We could sign it next Monday.
And sign it
Sure.
at a later date? I think it should be on our letterhead.
Yeah, in a parchment paper or something. So moved, Chairman.
I can change it and send it to you.
I'm real confused about this whole thing, because I think at the last meeting, you guys moved to approve a 250th Vermont resolution. But I couldn't find it in the packet, but I wanted to include the wording in the minutes, and now it sounds like you're motioning to approve it again, so I'm just. Like, if I want to include the wording of the resolution, should I include something last time? And is this what you think you voted on last time?
No, I think it is.
The other one was the two by sea and one by land.
No, you voted on two things last time.
We
First,
did.
you voted on something that was described as the Vermont 250th.
Yes,
Then you voted on the 2 by sea.
yes.
So are you
Yeah.
like reversing your vote on the?
This is
250th?
almost an amalgamation of those two votes. So I would say that if we approve the specific language of this resolution, that's what should be.
Are you okay with the amalgamation?
Yeah, I think it was okay.
I think it looks
Yeah.
fine.
And it left it open to say which day you want to celebrate in the future too, so.
Yeah.
Make-
But I got Bennington Battle Day in there, which
Yeah.
we had talked about. So, yeah,
So I would entertain a motion.
I would
Yeah,
move
if-
to approve the language as proposed for the resolution. Understanding that it's gonna be dressed up a little bit, and then we can sign it at a future date.
Second.
Motion and second, further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Okay.
All right.
You're killing me,
Gonna have
Rose.
to move the resolution.
All those opposed, and the ayes have it. Huh?
Where's it gonna go?
Gonna go to Donald Trump.
Oh, is it-
Where do they all go?
Are we hanging it up? Are we sending it somewhere?
Where do we put them? There's gotta be a secret drawer.
We shouldn't give it to the person.
We're gonna hang it on the wall.
Why don't we give them to Diana?
Can we,
She'll do what she wants to with
yeah,
it,
we could.
because it was
forward
kind of
one,
her idea.
But
in
yeah,
the
it's
first
not a bad
place,
idea to post it somewhere.
Two by seed business.
What's wrong with posting it up in the office?
It's not gonna hold. I just wanna know what you're gonna do with it.
Well, why don't we ask
Put it
Diana?
in the drawer.
Valid question.
Diana brought it up.
Put it in the drawer with all the rest of them.
Don't be so
Hey,
good.
find that magic drawer that Evan's talking
Would,
about.
would she want to fancy it up?
I would
I
imagine.
You
mean,
think?
we have the template. It's copy and paste.
Do you think she'd like to fancy it up?
You mean like visually make it more
Yeah.
attractive?
Yeah.
She might, except that she is about to go away for the whole summer hiking. She's on a short hiking trip now. She's gonna come back for like a week. And then she's gonna be gone like all summer until fall, so.
Well, the finished product could be scanned to her, then she could have a look at it.
On the trail?
Wonderful.
No, but I mean, is she completely out of the loop for everything when she's gone?
To a large extent, yeah, I mean, they're gonna be hiking, they're gonna be in the backcountry. I mean, they'll occasionally go into a town, but you know, it's not like she's gonna be checking her email.
When is she leaving?
I think she's coming back in like a few days and will be around for, I don't know, another week, I think.
Well, that should be done by then. It should all be done before she leaves.
Yeah, but you're talking about maybe wanting her to do something to make it visually more attractive?
No, we're gonna do it and we're gonna show it to her.
Okay.
Okay.
I think Peter was asking if she wanted to do it. Which.
Were you?
Yeah,
that's what you asked?
I misunderstood your question.
Are we ripe as rain here?
Well, you said, we've already got the template. All we have to do is change some names on it, right?
I said that.
You said that.
Yeah.
But we don't really have the template. What Evan wants is fancier print.
On parchment paper.
Well, Rosemary is the controller of the nice paper. And
You have some of that stuff that you do these when we
Look in
say,
the magic drawer.
January 2nd is Rosemary's Day or something.
We'll be.
You have some of that paper.
Eric had always provided the paper for that.
How do you really?
He did, he printed it out and brought it in.
Maybe when I call him tomorrow, I'll
You'll get the paper from him.
have to get the paper.
Well, you can, I mean, there are all kinds of templates for certificate,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
stuff. I mean,
probably Adrian has 500 of them on her computer.
She's already done it. What are we talking about?
Are we gonna be signing this? Like,
yeah,
can I get a quill pen?
good.
You're really,
With a feather?
you're
And then
really,
tape it onto the.
you're really spending taxpayers' money now.
Just bought a truck over $30,000 budget. I guess we can pay for the whole town.
I don't know if there's any updates on the industrial park
Yeah.
right now.
Is there any updates on the industrial park?
No, I believe Mumley moved forward with the NEPA, like, saw that email come through, but, I think that's all there is for right now.
All right.
We're on number 17, right? Industrial park.
Yes,
You know something, I tell you, Tom and I have talked about this, but there's gonna be 26 units going in Morrisville. And they're close to the thruway. Do we still want to continue to march with the one we got going?
I do,
Okay,
absolutely. We got all kinds of things that one doesn't, and they're not
Well, we don't seem to have much movement on this. It just goes meeting after meeting and there's no update.
We're in the National Environmental Protection Agency phase. And if you think we're inefficient, go a couple more levels up in government.
That's what's holding us up now.
The NEPA review is ongoing and as I understand it, you know, somewhat.
Well, by the time that thing gets done, it's gonna cost us another $1 million to build the thing.
So what do you wanna do? Pull the plug?
I'm almost to that point, but I don't think I have the votes.
Do we have any idea how long that review takes? 2 to 4 months.
This project has cost twice the amount of money that we originally talked about years ago. And it's getting worse.
Do we have to have this conversation? Christ, we've been down this road how many friggin' times?
We don't have to have it tonight.
About 10.
Yeah.
Since I've been on the board.
You know,
there's
it's
probably
just,
more.
we gotta shit.
I understand that, but a lot of this stuff. We did not know about the 26 unit one in Morrisville. When we first started this, that wasn't even on the drawing board.
No, it wasn't. And as I pointed out to you, the one in Morrisville doesn't have onsite, it has onsite water and sewer. It does not have, you know, village water and sewer. So we've got a big backup. And I want to be really clear. I have said numerous times that I think it could take 10 years to fill that park. But once it's filled and we've got tax revenue and job creation coming in from that, I just think it's a benefit to the community.
Okay.
And Mark Woodward absolutely disagrees, you know, he thinks we should put housing up there. And, you know, I guess other people do too, but my point is we can't just keep going back and forth like a seesaw on this. We gotta.
I get it, but things change and that, the one in Morrisville kind of,
Well,
I think put a wrench in the works for hours, but
Just
time will be.
to lay it out all out on the table. I'm just gonna lay it out. Johnson is geographically different. We're also economically different. And probably there's larger industrial parks in several other towns than Morrisville. So seesawing based on another town putting an industrial park in makes no sense. I think, aren't they putting an extension in at St. Albans right now?
Yeah.
Should we cancel this because of St. Albans? Honest
Well,
question.
I tell you, they're close to the thruway. We're not. Easy access.
They have
89.
different advantages.
Yeah.
and I think, you know, we're gonna have to work hard to target a specific kind of, you know, business to our park. It's not gonna be the same unit that's gonna go in St. Albans or South Burlington.
Regurgitated conversation, right? If this was done a decade ago, we would already have, probably more than a decade ago now, not to say anybody years old. We'd already have rock art and butternut here.
Yeah.
Numerous people have said that to me. I've not talked to them and asked them where they'd spend their money directly, but.
Duncan, do you know when the package went to NEPA? For the review, how long ago?
It hasn't actually gone to so it's the final report is gonna go to the lending agent, the Vermont, whatever it is, the Northern Borders Council, whatever. They're still in the process of finalizing the report to submit to Northern Borders Regional Commission.
Any idea how much longer they need it?
I do not know the answer to that question. I know that is a subject of sort of continuous discussion with Randall and Mumley Associates to get that done and submitted. And I'm not sure that I ever agreed with this theory, but originally the theory was the NEPA review should be done before we submitted for Act 250. And I think the discussion at that point was having the NEPA review will make it easier to get through the Act 250 process. But I'm not sure that I think that was a good idea. I kind of think we should have gone ahead and submitted for our Act 250 and done the NEPA review.
Simultaneously.
Because it's not, the NEPA review is not required for Act 250 approval.
It's apples and oranges, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
One is
NEPA
the federal government saying, how does this affect the environment, the human environment in the area? And then Act 250 is how does it meet zoning and procedures of state law?
Yeah.
They're very different, they're totally different things. Yeah.
And there were lots of people at LCPC, for example, Victoria Hellwig and, all the folks up there were saying, oh, do your NEPA first. And then, it'll grease the slides for the Act 250. I'm not sure that strategically was our best move, but
But we're still moving.
we're
Anyway,
still moving ahead.
we got bigger fish to fry tonight. I apologize for getting us off track.
You want to move on to cemetery maintenance now?
Let's see if I can find it in my heart to forgive you.
So, can we delegate Duncan and I to put together an RFP and make White Hill Cemetery awesome?
Yes.
Yeah, so did you get my email about?
I didn't read it, but I saw you sent it.
Okay, I did, and I just want to make clear that Whiting Hill, not White Hill. Because White Hill sort of, a lot of people refer to Grove Cemetery as
Oh, get out.
White Hill.
That makes sense.
Gary White, or Bidwell. But anyway, Whiting Hill is a subject that I guess a couple of years ago, maybe the board asked me if I would reach out to the Vermont Cemetery Association and see if we could establish a work day. And I recently got an email from somebody at the Vermont Cemetery Association to discuss the possibility of doing Whiting Hill as a work day. So my suggestion would be we do Evergreen Ledge, Plot, and Grove Cemetery.
Yeah.
As our RFP.
I really want to stress that I think Whiting Hill is so important because it's like the gateway to town. And like right now, there's a fence down.
I was gonna mention that.
Like-
Will that be repaired with this?
It wouldn't necessarily be repaired as part of this. We could ask the highway department to do it.
But
Public work.
I brought it up and I got really excited because I think it does so much more than, the cemetery needs attention, but it also like freshens the view as we come in,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that cemetery is roughly half done. I did about half of it. So the other half is what I'm hoping the Vermont Cemetery Association could do with volunteers. And if we can do that, that's done. Those stones have all been cleaned. Plot Cemetery have all been cleaned. Evergreen Ledge and Grove Cemetery have not. So you'll see that I sent Tom today kind of the background information for the means and methods piece of the RFP, not the nuts and bolts of the RFP itself, but the sort of the means and methods of it. So I would encourage you guys to authorize Tom and I to prepare and circulate an RFP.
I'll move to authorize Duncan and Tom to prepare and circulate an RFP
For cemetery maintenance.
for cemetery maintenance and my backyard. No, yeah.
Who seconded first, you or Mike? I think you did.
Oh.
Did you
Give
second?
it to her, I think.
I did or not?
Would you like to second or do you?
Yes,
want
I'll
Mike?
second.
Okay. Build some more fences. Any further discussion? I think we have some money from this year, but we probably.
We
won't get that
budgeted
first.
10 grand.
No, I'm saying.
Oh, left
You know,
over, left over. Yeah, good
You know,
question.
at town meeting day, we had only spent 3,000.
I don't know what we've got left over.
3.
7,000 before June 1st. May 4th, June 30th, right? We haven't spent anything, I think we,
3,500's been gone through.
3,500 was the cost for the fencing.
yeah.
I don't know, let's
Take
pay
that,
low.
stick that toward the truck.
Well,
We have $6,500 to play with. I think we can get a lot.
In this fiscal year,
Just kidding.
but 10,000 next
Right,
fiscal
and
year.
10,000 the next fiscal.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed? And
Yeah.
the ayes have it.
Just one more thing about the cemeteries. With the cemetery, I didn't see on Google Maps or any kind of maps, like digital maps. Is the board okay with me working with Tom to try to add it to Google Maps and any other little attractions or things to Google Maps?
It's a generalized question. I'm just gonna throw it out there. This is my opinion only. I have no problem with you working with anybody, but to me, it's the Historic Society. And maybe the sexton.
Well, I noticed the pizza oven wasn't on there. too.
And I wasn't at your organizational meeting. Did I get appointed to anything as a result of the organizational meeting, or
I
are
think
we
you're
still
the,
operating without a?
are you the sexton?
Well, not
I
if.
appointed him long.
Yeah, I thought we did.
Yeah, but I didn't get reappointed, so, you know, right?
I can make a motion.
Does anybody have an issue with Adrian working with somebody to just put a
Certainly
dot on
not.
Google?
Certainly.
Okay.
More power to her.
I think that's the generalist one. Are we ready to move on from cemeteries, or do you have a question about being the sexton?
No.
It's official, I've said it, so.
It's in the minutes.
It's in
Has
the,
to be true.
Donna, that's in the minutes, right?
Ma heard it on the corner. I saw it in the newspaper. It must be true.
Next up, I have written down packet discussion, parentheses, Adrian.
Yeah, so last meeting we talked about how I didn't see that the agenda packet was on the website. So we were talking about it, and I said that it was like really important for it to be posted on the website around the same time as the regular agenda goes out. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you said that you're okay with it being on the website, but it doesn't need to be on the website, right?
Yeah, my
Something.
comment really was the town administrator's report is really for the benefit of us as select board members, and I just think it's important that that report reflects the best information someone can provide to us for us to make good decisions.
Mhm.
And that it wasn't essential that it's a public document. So anybody's entitled to see it that wants to, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to make the distinction that it's the purpose of the report is for us, not for the public.
Mhm. And I went back and like looked up when we started doing agenda packets, and it was in May of 2020 that the board unanimously, I can never say that word. Unanimously approved doing that. They didn't make a motion or anything formal, but they all agreed that they wanted it posted on the website.
The agenda or?
The agenda packet.
Okay, so the report and the agenda.
I still think it's really important. I'm okay with us like leaving out bids or proposals or anything like sensitive. At the same time, I don't want to create more work for Tom, and I personally don't think it's gonna work out. People just requesting agenda packets from you and you sending it out, because that's a lot of emails and it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm open for other suggestions, but I still feel it's important to have up.
How's the rest of the board feel?
Well, way back in 2020, I was for that, because I thought it was quite cursory compared to what it is today. And I agree with Duncan that there's quite a lot of information on this, and Adrian and I were talking about truck bids, for instance, that went out. And so it would be very easy for somebody that was selling a truck to check our packets and then see what other people are putting in for bids. And then even if they had a bid, they could make an addendum to their bid before the meeting and undercut somebody. And so that would be an unfair advantage, I would think. Talking to Tom about this, when we went out for fuel bids, that caused quite a consternation in the public and with some of the fuel dealers because of the bid price that they gave the town and that they wanted the same deal that the town got. So that's just unnecessary problem that we're putting out there into the community. If we're going to put out a packet, I think it should be cursory, and I think it should be not as much in the weeds as what the board should receive. Now, if it is difficult to try to have two separate ones, maybe it'd be better off if we just posted the agenda, which is what we're legally required to do.
Peter, do you have a thought?
I'm all for openness, but I just don't see the need for everybody and their sibling to have access to this. I feel it'd be more valuable to us, to me, if the administrator is free to compile this with the select board as the audience and not the public, recognizing that somebody could request it, but that's, you know, that's different.
I also changed my narrative because it's published, you know, so you don't get. You know, this kind of goes back to the phone call versus email, right? Like you lose a lot of context sometimes, and then when it's out on the internet, you lose even more context. You don't really get to the meat of the issue, and then unfortunately, it kind of puts, I feel, just from sitting here, I don't give you what I want to say because I don't want to say it to the world, and then it puts you guys at odds because I didn't say it. And I see that when we talk about benefits, I see it when we talk about employees, I see it when we talk about bids. I see it whenever we talk about emotional subjects, because it's out to the world. Unless I pick up the phone and call you, you guys don't get it, you know, and that's not great, you know, like it kind of leaves you at a disadvantage. I've been thinking about how do we do this, right? And so if people want, like, the town administrator's report should be just for the board. But I could put together a packet that excludes anything to do with personnel, anything to do with trade secrets, we could call it, you know, with RFPs and such.
Bids.
You know, exactly. And I think when I first started, I even asked Duncan, on the side, like, hey, what do I put these in the packet or not? And you and I went back and forth, and you said, well, it's public, it's gonna be public after the meeting, you might as well put it in. I don't know what the right answer is, but at the time, it felt like that was the right answer, but now it's come back to bite me, you know? So I think the direction today should be, what do you want and what do you want me to exclude? And then we'll just we'll try it, and then we can adapt it. You guys can get yours, and then I can put one up with the agenda. And that'll be that.
As far as when you said somebody could request it, it's not our obligation to give them bids or any of that nature.
A sealed bid is sealed until it's open. It is then a public record.
It's then a
Right.
public record.
Right.
So the fuel bids,
Are public record.
once they're open and read, then it's, you know, whether a fuel dealer doesn't want it out there in the public or not, they're submitting a proposal that becomes a public document. So
Yeah, but the deal is that when we discuss that, we say we're gonna go with X number of X company for X number of dollars per gallon. That's when it comes public, but people shouldn't have that information 2 weeks or.
they shouldn't have it in advance of the meeting.
They shouldn't have it in that packet.
Yes, I agree.
And there's two ways that I've done it, and I and I've done it both ways, I've done it poorly, because if this is somebody off, and I'll take full responsibility, but. There's been times where I have the RFP due the day of the meeting at 4 p.m. So that way, but then you guys don't see it. You know, but, or so then I started switching it to having it be the Thursday or the Friday before. And then we get them and then I can send them to you.
That's the way a sealed bid really should work.
You guys should have the weekend to look at it, is what I think. You don't, it's not.
It's all fair, your bids are all due at X and they're opened at X. And then it's just sent out to the board so they can mull it over for the weekend.
Yeah, and it's perfectly acceptable to have Tom be the person that receives, opens and makes public the bids. And then forwards those bids to us to make a decision on the following Monday or whatever.
This has been such a problem that I now put in every single RFP that goes out, confidentiality. Please be advised that all notifications, release and addendums associated with this RFP will be posted online, copies of this, the town may not attempt to contact. Yada, 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 and then it goes, it talks about that it's like gonna be open to the public. And I think that's important, you know, but it's like, that's a problem. It's because it creates conflict that like you have to like now put it in the RFP. But I think maybe what we do is make it very clear that RFPs will be sealed, are due this day at this time. They will be open but remained in sealed state for only the board's view. And that way it's like stated, it's like part of the RFP, it's part of the condition of the. You know, and if somebody wants to challenge that, they can take it up with the Secretary of State. But
Years ago, when I was a trustee, we used to get bids in, they would be in envelopes. And we would sit there and open them.
yeah,
And we wouldn't know what was in there until the envelope was open.
and some for like construction, it's pretty straightforward. You're like, okay, it's $30,000 less, we're going with this company. Problem is when we get these complicated ones like rack, like the fuel, where there's price over rack versus price per gallon, or the sealed price, and then. Or you have the truck information where you don't have apples to oranges, and it takes time to compare the two because it's not clean. That's where we need that weekend.
And that's where, when you open a bid, if you say the bids are due at 4 o'clock and they'll be open and read aloud. Then at that point in time, you can say the apparent low bidder is X. But the decision ultimately gets reviewed and made by the board, because the apparent low bidder may not actually end up being the actual low bidder after you look at all of the.
You always should have
addendums,
that,
etc.
exactly. In that vetting process, we've been doing.
We're getting like really far into the weeds on sealed bids.
And
The topic specifically is packets.
I guess.
And Adrian is asking for them to be posted on the website. And I've been relatively vocal, I think. I'm all for them being on the website. But I am similar to Duncan's opinion. They're for the board, and whatever we need to go to get us more information to make these meetings go quicker, I am for. And if anybody ever asks me for one, I'm just gonna send it to them. I do that with anything that's ever asked for, because everything we do, unless it's listed confidential, is public record.
One more thing, I mean, just today, since there was no agenda packet on the website, I was emailed 3 times about sending over the packet with the resolution in it. And maybe there was something in there that I shouldn't be sending, but I just sent the whole packet because I don't have time to like extract it from the agenda packet. And as much as I like talking to people and emailing with people, I don't want to send people packets like all day.
send them to the administrator.
Huh?
Send them to the administrator. and
Okay, did
check.
anyone ask you for the agenda today and you sent it to them?
Sent it out twice, yeah, two people did.
Some
Paul
people said
Warden
they didn't
and
get it.
Jackie Stanton asked for it, and I sent them the packet with redacted information. And I replied to, well, I didn't reply to Paul to send his, but Jackie, I just said, I'll give it to you when I get to the office. I have to redact information for executive session.
And you want more emails asking them?
Honestly, on a pretty hot topic, when we fill a room, we only got 2 emails. I don't think it's gonna be that common.
How about you post the whole packet? Minus your report, and send us your report.
And I also minus other, can you trust me to use my judgment to redact certain sensitive things? Like, remember the Fifth Highway guy where I wrote in the packet and I framed it poorly and it made it seem like I was arguing for a fifth guy. Remember that? Was that a month ago, maybe?
2 weeks
Like-
ago.
Like that was, I wasn't trying to do that, but I did it, you know? And so like, there's an example of like me putting my packet out there to the public. Created a conflict that was, you know, it was unintentional, but still created it. And that, so can I use my judgment to just say anything related to sensitive stuff?
Of course.
Yeah, and just, you know, it's, if people,
Should it be your judgment or the chair's?
I'm an open book, so.
I mean, it also, you know, that's the more work, because then I can't do anything until I talk to everyone,
Well-
and then Thursday.
I'm sensitive to what you just said, Tom, but I think an important piece of that is. You don't work for 3,000 people, you work for a board of 5 people. And I go back to my concept of the report really needs to be geared to us.
Yeah.
And how we make a good decision, and no matter what you do, somebody's gonna pick apart a decision or an action or a opinion that you have. So I think when you write your reports, you really need to target it towards us and give us the best information you can to make a good decision, and whatever the rest of the public feels about that kind of doesn't, I won't say that it doesn't matter, but I think the really critical piece is this board needs to have as much information as we can, and lots of times the general public doesn't have information that we do have, simply because we're doing what we do. You know, so
So you're advocating basically just for the agenda online and the report for us.
I think the agenda online and the report to us is fine. I think the minute that we have the meeting, the report becomes a public document. I don't think it becomes a public document until our meeting.
So you're saying that there could be a packet ready to go to give to the people in the audience.
There could be, and you could use your judgment and redact the things that are, you know, we obviously shouldn't have things in the report that gets out to the general public that are confidential attorney-client privilege stuff.
Personnel matters.
Yeah, we shouldn't have anything in there relating to personnel matters. We shouldn't have anything in there relating to.
Purchase or sale of real estate.
Yeah, and it's just making it unnecessarily complicated. Your report is for us.
Can I just poll the board? Adrian and I want it online.
Board.
Board only.
I don't think we need a motion. Do we? We just pulled the board.
Whenever we disagree like this, I'm always gonna act on the side of reservation, because when the board disagrees, I'm doing something wrong.
That was just the majority of the
Yeah,
boards that the
and so-
packet is for the board.
Let's make it a formal motion.
Somebody make a
I'm
motion.
just gonna move forward until you guys tell me otherwise, not on.
Let's make a formal motion. Somebody craft it. Cause we already know who the majority is,
Can I
so
say one more thing?
you certainly can.
I think you do a great job, but sometimes you mess up, and maybe I'm sending something in for beautification committee. And I wanted it in the packet for you guys to see, and it's not put in there, and then I come to this meeting and I'm like, what the heck, you know? So I think there should be checks and balances with the public seeing what's in the packet and being able to educate themselves when they come to a meeting. And also making sure that what they want in the packet is in the packet for the board to know about. So that's one more thing I'll say.
I think we are in the minority or other towns in the state as far as putting out all these big packets.
Well, Cambridge, Morrisville, and Fairfax have.
Packets?
Yes.
Underhill does too.
Those darn Underhill people. Somebody make a motion. We already know what the majority is here, so it'd be nice if you guys made a motion.
I make a motion that the agenda go out and the packet be reserved for the board.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
All those opposed,
Nay.
the ayes have it. Put to bed.
No, I do want to be clear that at some point, the report does become a public document that the public is entitled to see.
If anybody, if I email it, somebody asks for it, I gotta give it to them.
true, but
You have to give them to that.
redacted with all of the stuff, no bids, none of that kind of stuff, no personnel, no fifth employee discussion and all this other stuff.
And you need to give them that day, and if it's the day of the meeting, at least an hour when they ask.
I mean, I can't promise that, whatever requires 5 days or less, so.
We're tied to that.
Yep.
Next up is interlocal assessor conversation.
Yes, and I'll try and make this brief. So we have an interlocal agreement committee meeting on Thursday, which you guys approved me to attend at our last board meeting. I sent out everybody a packet over the weekend, which was 2 spreadsheets, basically. The bottom line is that I'm trying to find out from Justin if he has suggested that he could go from 8 to 10 hours a week for Johnson, but he hasn't gotten back to me to let me know if he really wants to be at 10 hours versus 8 hours. So I don't know the answer to that question. The bottom line is, in the worst case scenario that I sent out, in other words, the maximum benefits that he is eligible for, we have enough money for 8 hours, but we're about $4,000 shy if he goes to 10. If he keeps his health and dental elections as they currently are, we have enough money for 10. It's like spot on.
Because of the hour increase.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you added Berkshire?
Yeah.
Another 8 hours a day and it came out to the penny the exact same.
Right, yeah. So I'm just looking for a little guidance from you guys. All things being equal, do you want to keep him at 8 or go to 10? If we go to 10 and he keeps his current elections, we're good. But if he changes his mind at some point and says, I want the family plan,
Then he has to go back to 8.
we're gonna be shy.
Yeah, but
Or
you
he could
can't,
go back to
you
8.
can't legally do that.
Yeah, that's tricky.
I think, and I don't have like a massively good feel. He said his hours are gonna increase because of the flyer that he sent out with tax bills. I guess he's gotten some property changes there, changes to valuation. I personally would rather keep him at 8 for this year, scale him up to 10 next year, because the following year we're gonna be scaling him up even more for our townwide reappraisal. I like the scaling step, I guess, but that's just me.
I wish we had the money in the budget and he can't work for 40 because there's other obligations, but I sure wish he could work here full time.
Peter and Adrian and Peter.
I'm sorry. I wondered.
Will, the bottom line is any formal change is gonna come back to this board for final decision. I'm just looking for some guidance on.
We better keep him at 8 because of the uncertainty of the healthcare.
Do you have a preference
Yeah, I'm in favor
of 8 or 10?
of 10.
Okay.
Mike, you said 8.
Because
So
of
like-
the uncertainty of the healthcare. Because I'd hate to change it to 10 and then have him change his healthcare and then put us over.
If we go 10 and he changes what his current elections are, we're gonna be $4,000 shy in the budget.
For a year, but I think when budget
Yeah.
season comes around, this is an important thing to remember. I think.
Yes, it is, and we'll need to make. I think I pointed out to you that the budget sheet that we have currently has him what he was doing last year, which is the cash in lieu of.
The opt-out.
The opt-out, he's actually taking a single person plan for both health and dental. So we need to make sure we keep track of that when we come up to our budget season
Okay.
next year.
Old business, we're gonna talk about heavily at our next meeting, but is there anything anybody wants to hit on town sewer service area?
I met with Alec Jones, who is here tonight. Those guys are finishing up their HMGP.
Hazard mitigation grant program.
Yeah, as a mitigation grant program, things at LCPC, and as soon as that's done. Alec and Seth and I are supposed to meet and finalize the draft map that you guys have seen. And I also need to make changes to the written language of the ordinance. And then once that's done, I think we can adopt a new ordinance and post it for 45 days and all that good stuff.
Okay. No other old business. We have 2 executive sessions coming up and we're going to adjourn out of this meeting, not.
We're going to
Ended.
adjourn to
We're
Monday.
gonna adjourn to another date, not adjourn.
I mean,
Press pause. We'll pick it up
okay.
next time.
Yes, so we're gonna adjourn to Monday at 4 o'clock at this location.
You wait, are you? The other 3 of you good with Monday at 4 o'clock?
Good.
Okay, so you'll have a quorum here.
Yep, so that's my motion to adjourn this meeting.
After executive sessions.
Yes.
Okay, can we do that before we go in or just?
Why not?
I'd entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
Under 1 VSA 313 A3.
Yeah, and A2. And we can just come out. I don't.
I do have jury duty next Monday.
Second.
What?
You
Just,
have jury duty?
yeah, but I don't know if I'll get picked. And if it'll last that long, so I don't know.
Most people never get picked as jury duty.
Yeah.
If 3
And
people.
just there for 8
Just when
hours.
you go in, say, hang them.
What do you think about
Alright.
punishment? Speedy trial and execution? Alright. Next.
Alright,
You're done.
so. Michael Moore enter into executive session for employee evaluation and negotiations or securing of real estate. Negotiations or securing of real estate purchase or lease options as allowed by 1 BSA 313 A3 and 1 BSA 313 A2, inviting Rosemary and Tom. With potential action item coming out of them. That was your motion, correct? Is there a
That was my second, your motion.
Okay, that was my motion. It was Mike's second.
There you go.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Always
Yeah,
nice
let's have
to
it.
see the chair, make the motion.
The board is entering executive session at 9:21. Boy, you're killing me, Mike. I was trying to form that one for you.
Yeah.
9:21. Thank you, Donna.
Donna, do you have jury duty too?
I guess I.
Can we just
Barbara said that I realized.
undo Zoom,
okay.
unplug everything, shut it
I
off?
was just saying, today I had to look up the date, so.
Yeah, I think it is next Monday, yeah.
Yeah.
Rosemary,
Recording stopped.
the next crew.